I'm going to show this slide first. Some key players. You've probably met Shannon and Katie when you checked in, and those are two of our amazing staff members. Katie's focus on our team is actually all student-facing. So it's her job to have a really close relationship and engage in service and all the needs that you have in your organizations by working with our fraternities and sororities, working with our athletics teams, working with all of our student organizations. We have over 200 student organizations here at FGCU. Really anything student-facing, including all of our residence halls. So she's a great conduit for you to all of those groups of students on campus. She is all student-facing. When a student walks into our office, they should know Katie's face first and foremost. On the flip side, Jamie, who you have now met, Jamie is the face for our faculty. So our hundreds of faculty, adjunct, full-time, we don't have tenure here, but our long-term faculty, as well as those who have just come on board this term, they're all going to go to Jamie to connect to needs in the community. So they'll come to Jamie, and you'll learn much more about this, but they'll come to Jamie and they'll say, I have this course. I'd really like to connect the course to a need in the community. I'm teaching this content. Can you help me find a partner in the community who needs that done? So that's all going to be through Jamie. The other hat that Jamie wears is you all. So we actually have over 600 community partners that we work with on a regular basis. Our students, as you will learn, our students can work with any nonprofit or government agency anywhere in the world. But we have about 600 in our database that get regular communication from Jamie and from our office. So Jamie wears those two hats. Katie is our student-facing. And then Shannon, who you met when you checked in, she handles all of our events, all of our marketing, our social media, all of the look and feel of our office. So she's very busy as well. And you can thank her for the food that we'll have at lunch, everything that's set up right now. It's all Shannon. And then Raina is our newest hire. She was actually a recent grad from FGCU, and she handles all of our data and outreach to seniors. So, and really some juniors, but mainly our seniors. Because service learning is a graduation requirement at FGCU, we're very proud of that fact. We're one of only 2 public institutions in the entire country that has service learning as a graduation requirement, meaning truly, you can have every course done and they will not give you that degree until you engage with either 40 or 80 hours of community engagement service learning that we're going to talk about today. And the 40 or 80 is depending on how you were admitted, either as an upper level student or a lower level student. And so Raina works with all of those students to make sure that service learning is never the thing that's keeping them from graduating, but also making sure that between her and Katie, they're making sure that the students have the most meaningful experience, the most educational experience, that if you are a business major, you're not just going out and doing beach cleanups. It's not that beach cleanups are bad, but it's not connected to their content of their major. So Raina and Katie are both really, really focused on that. And then Jamie focuses on that with faculty and with you all. So that's a quick overview of our team. I did want to show you this slide, though. I always love to make sure you know what you're in for. So we're going to be in this room for a little while this morning, but it's going to fly by. And it's going to fly by because we have a lot to tell you, and almost everything that we're talking about, hopefully everything, but I'm going to be real and say almost everything will get your gears turning and will really help you start thinking. And so these are our 4 main objectives. You'll see these pop up on the screen to give you an idea of where we're at in the morning, throughout the morning. So number 1, we're going to review definitions and impact. We're going to make sure that you know what we are talking about. What is service learning? How is it different than volunteerism? We're going to make sure that you know how to craft service learning opportunities and really attract students and then have it be impactful for students. You know, I mentioned the difference. We're going to talk about the difference of service learning and volunteerism, but we're also going to have a guest speaker talking about the difference of service learning and internships. Just a show of hands, has anybody ever engaged an FGCU student through internships in the past? So a couple of you. So you'll learn, for those of you who have, you'll learn how this is a bit different. And for those of you who haven't, you will learn about how it can be a totally separate, but also really impactful opportunity. It just has different parameters, so we'll talk about that. And then lastly, we'll talk about all the ways that you can engage with our students throughout the year or at different times and really make the most of your partnership with FGCU through service learning. Yeah.
You tell them your big news, just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case you see Justin run away, he has something to tell you.
Yeah. My wife is in early labor right now. Thank you. It is baby number 3. So we're sort of used to like the process at this point. However,
This is the big however. You need to understand this point.
I thought this was like more common than it is, and I've since learned that it's really not. Our second was accidentally born at home. My wife slept through labor and woke up to having a baby.
So he's here today with us.
So everyone, including my wife's doctor, does not trust her judgment. So yes, I may be running out of the room and not coming back, but it doesn't mean I don't love you all and that I'm not happy you're here.
I honestly did not think he would be here today.
Yep. And
so this is a happy surprise. And he comes in, I'm like, I'm so glad we're doing this together. And he's like, well, not for long. So,
if you like.
So here we are.
Yes, so just want to make sure you know if that happens. So that all said, let's dive back into community engagement. So community engagement, I put this definition up here from as you can see, the American Council on Education. Community engagement is the collaboration. I'm going to read it. I don't normally read a slide, but I'm going to read it because there's some key words here in the definition of community engagement I want to point out. Community engagement is the collaboration between institutions of higher education, FGCU, and their larger communities, all of you, and we're obviously part of that as well, for the mutually beneficial exchange of knowledge and resources. That is key, that mutually beneficial. It has to be a win for you all, for the region, and for us with our students and our faculty. And so that mutually beneficial exchange is the key to true community engagement, and it's what we really strive to live into here at FGCU. Do we do it perfectly? Absolutely not. But we try every day to do it as well as we possibly can. And it's that exchange of knowledge and resources. Sometimes it is the expertise of our faculty working with our students coming to you all to provide knowledge. Other times it is resources, and that might be building rain barrels for you. It might be a garden. It might be any number of things. But it's really important that we kind of start with the understanding that we are striving for mutually beneficial. If that is ever not happening, it's both of our responsibilities to tell each other. So we need to be saying to you, there's something off here. This is no longer beneficial for our students through the educational process. How can we fix this? How can we adjust this? On the flip side, you need to feel comfortable telling us, whether that's telling Jamie, myself, or the faculty member and students you might be working with, that on the flip side, it may no longer be beneficial to you or something may have changed. We want to fix that. So as we're talking about ideas here today, keep in mind we are looking for how is it mutually beneficial, simultaneously and mutually beneficial. There we go. So service learning, as I mentioned before, is a piece of community engagement at FGCU. Kind of honing in on the definition of service learning, some key words here. Service learning is the method of teaching, learning, and reflecting. So we're always looking for those 3 key pieces to happen during the experience. Teaching is often happening. So one of the things we'll really emphasize today is partnerships with faculty and their classes. So the teaching comes through that part, and you can come alongside that. You're often invited to come alongside that. Sometimes you're even encouraged to come to the class itself and be part of that educational, that teaching process. Every faculty member is a little different on that. But the learning and reflecting, you are the experts in what you do. So if you are with Harry Chapin Food Bank, you are the experts in food insecurity and distribution of food in the community and what that looks like. You are the experts. And so you really have a chance to help students learn and reflect in that process. it's also the reflection that we can sometimes miss because we get so energized with, oh, we have 20 people here, we can get so much work done in the next 4 hours. Bam, 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 bam. We knock out whatever the work is, and then they get back on the bus and they leave. But it's that reflecting. Sometimes it's really, really, truly, sometimes it's just 5 minutes of a conversation of like, hey, where do you think this food is going? Hey, why do you think families need this food? Hey, we've had students, when we do reflection on our end, we've had students get to a point that they're very open and honest with us, and they go, well, why can't these people just get a job? Okay, well, let's talk about that. Because if we don't open the opportunity for that reflection and that digestion, then the learning doesn't happen. The work gets done, but the learning doesn't happen. And so that's the difference, and we'll talk about this multiple times throughout the morning. That's one of the key differences in volunteerism and service learning. Service learning is truly that hyphenated concept of service, filling a need in the community. So I keep using the Harry Chapin example. We're putting food in boxes. That is a need that they have in order to get that food out. So we're filling that need. But the learning, the service-learning, the learning has to happen through reflection. It can happen through faculty members, but you are often the expert who has probably the most knowledge on that topic to communicate to the students in the learning process. So it's that hyphenated word. So teaching, learning, and reflecting that combines academic classroom curriculum and meaningful service that meets actual needs in the community. I've had partners in the past say, well, does that mean I can't just do a beach cleanup with the basketball team? It's a good question. FGCU allows volunteerism, disconnected from course content, allows that to count toward the graduation requirement. However, that is never the goal. So let's say you have the basketball team come out and do a beach cleanup. How could you make that into service learning? Well, they each are majoring in something. They each have future careers ahead of them. And through simple reflection during and maybe even 5 minutes before they get on the bus, asking them questions. How do you think this connects to your major? What did you learn today that might impact how you are a citizen of the world beyond FGCU? Those simple questions can take it into the learning process. So it doesn't always have to be course connected. It doesn't always have to be, I'm studying environmental science, thus I'm going to now apply what I learned in class to this beach cleanup process. It doesn't have to be that. That's the dream. But yes, you can absolutely still have the basketball team come out, do beach cleanup, and then connect it to meaning and to course content. At FGCU, it is as integrated as you can possibly imagine. We have community engagement and service learning in everything and everywhere all across campus. So when you mention service learning on campus, people will know that. People are thinking about it as part of our culture here. And then I mentioned this just a minute ago, but just to make sure everyone is very clear, you will meet students who have 80-hour requirements, and you also meet students who have 40-hour requirements. That just means 80 hours from the time they enter to the time they leave. It's not 80 every semester or 80 every year. If a student is coming in as a first time in college, FTIC, meaning they've never gone to college anywhere else, they have an 80-hour requirement. Or if they're coming in as a lower level, so a freshman or sophomore status when they come in, they'll have an 80-hour requirement. If they're coming in as an upper level, so they traditionally usually only have 2 years here at FGCU, they'll have a 40-hour requirement. Any questions about the requirement or pieces like that? Great. All right. And then why are we doing this? There's 4 key reasons why FGCU holds on to this graduation requirement. And I say holds on because as you think over the last 28 years, there have been some things happening in the world that it would be very easy and it would have made our lives a lot more streamlined and less maybe chaotic if we had dropped this requirement. Because the second you make something a graduation requirement, now there's auditing, there's all this state stuff, there's all this everything. And we believe so deeply in this that we have never dropped it, not during COVID, not during different hurricanes that have come through. We've always held on to this, even though it takes a bit more work on our part. And here's the 4 main reasons. The first, very important. Our first reason for keeping this is allowing students to explore their major and or their passions. A lot of students at this point, this was not true 28 years ago, at this point though, a lot of students have had some volunteer experience in high school, maybe required to do so, or they just did it on their own in high school. So by the time they get to us, they've got often a lot of volunteer hours under their belt, and they've explored some passions, but they haven't connected the service and the way that they're filling needs in the community. Often they haven't connected it to their major or their future career. And what that means is we get students who come in to FGCU and they say, I'm only here because my mom, my dad, or someone in my life told me I need a college degree. And that's the only reason I'm here, and I don't really know what I want to study, I'm undecided. That's fine. We can work with that. But we want service learning to be a way for them to try some things out. Because the sooner that they can figure out why they're here and what they want to focus on, the sooner that they can get on the right track and graduate in 4 years. We have a lot of pressure from the state. We have metrics that we are under to graduate students in 4 years or less. And so the sooner that we can help students figure that out, the less time it is for them, the less money it often is for them if they're paying for it themselves. And so we really want to help them. What that means for you all is that when students are with you, to have those conversations. Hey, what are you majoring in? If they say undecided, okay, hey, have you thought about coming back here and working in our office a little bit? We'd love to have you help answer phones, see if customer service is your thing, maybe work with our marketing department, see if that's your thing. Kind of, think about the ways that you can plug in someone who says, I'm undecided. On the flip side, if you're with a school and someone comes in and they're serving a little bit with you in any capacity, and they say, I want to be a kindergarten teacher. We love that. We love that because sometimes those students come in very bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and they know they're going to be a kindergarten teacher. And then we, doing what I was just talking about, we try to get them some experience in a kindergarten classroom or an after-school program. You know where this is going. And sometimes they come back to us and they say, whew, that is not for me. And we're okay with that. But if they don't actively use their service learning requirement to explore that early on, they might not get that experience until their junior or senior year. And we want them to figure that out their first possible moment. And so you can help in that process. So that's a huge, huge reason for our service learning requirement. Another is gaining that real world experience. So we know surveys upon surveys upon surveys with massive employers across the country. So think your Amazons, your Walmarts, your big employers across the country. They get asked, what is it that college grads need in order for you to want to hire them and keep them at your company? What is it that college grads need? Beyond, obviously, the degree that you're requiring. And so there's this list of 8 skill sets. You'll see it later. And those skill sets are things that they say that they really want people to be able to do. Yes, they need that degree, but they also need to be able to work on a team. They need to be able to communicate, both interpersonally and publicly, and in writing, and verbally, in all the ways. They need to be able to use new technology. And sometimes we tell our students that, and they go, oh, well, I can post on social media. Okay, that's great. But everyone in this room has probably had to sit down at a brand new job and learn a new piece of technology, some new software system or database system or something. I think Jamie and I probably learn a new one like every month here. And so we tell students, you don't even know yet what technology you're going to need to know. All the employer needs to know is that you can learn, that you are adaptable to new technology, new forms of technology. And so we'll say to them, based on the service learning that you did, tell me about a moment where you had to work on a team. These are things that I share with you in hopes that you would share with them or help connect that during that reflection moment or moments. So if they had to work on a team to pack 25 boxes of food at Harry Chapin, we hope that part of the reflection is, hey, how did you figure out who was the leader? Did you ever have moments where you really got frustrated with somebody in this line here? They weren't packing fast enough, or one person thought we should be going in this direction, and this person thought it should get cereal, and the other person thought it should get nuts, or, it's those little things that seem so little to us that are teaching them skills that employers are looking for. But sometimes it's us helping them draw the dots and make the connections so that when they're sitting in a job interview and somebody says, tell me about a time you had to work on a team, that they can remember the moment and not say, oh, I don't know. which sometimes our brand new, our students who are interviewing for jobs, sometimes they blank. And so we have to help them realize you do have these experiences. Or especially, a lot of the work that Jamie does is helping classes partner with our community partners on projects. Well, those are often a couple months long. And so you're talking about teamwork and team projects that are happening over a duration of time. And anyone who's ever worked on a team, things come up. So those are our career readiness skills. And then building community. Another one of our state metrics is based on first-year students who are retained at the university, who don't drop out or don't transfer. Because we know, and the state knows, that when students transfer, they're more likely to go longer than 4 years, wherever they transfer to. Because not everything transfers, there's a gap, there's a relearning time. So we never truly want students to leave FGCU unless they're graduating. What keeps people in a place, though? You stay where you feel like you have community. You stay where you feel like you know other people. And we try very hard as a university from the moment our new students come, whether they're transfers or whether they are first-time in college students, which is about to happen 1 week from today. We will have thousands and thousands and thousands, about 7,000 students moving back on campus. And so it's happening very soon. And we try through orientation over the summer, we try during move-in, we try during the first weeks of welcome. You'll hear that term a lot, wow, weeks of welcome. Through all of that, to help them feel immediately or as quickly as possible like this is home. And I say this as in not just FGCU, but Southwest Florida. And so we know that if students feel like FGCU is home, if students feel like they enjoy where they're living, the life here, and that they feel like they belong in Southwest Florida, because a lot of our students are not from Southwest Florida. We know if that happens faster, they're more likely to stay in the region and at FGCU. The other piece is they're more likely to graduate and then stay in the region and serve the region with their future career. And so that's a really big piece as well. So that's our first objective, the big picture of service learning, community engagement. I'm going to hand it over to Jamie to hit our next objective and take us off from there.
Are you staying around?
I am. Okay. I'll be around.
We're all just going to be watching you like a hawk. Okay. So now that you kind of understand the why, right? The really big picture behind service learning, why we do the things we do, how it's connected to metrics, how it's connected to student impact, I wanted to bring up a couple guest speakers to talk about best practices of what they do in their role. And so I need the clicker, my friend. That's okay. So the main thing we're going to think now is that there is a certain way to attract students that you want to attract, right? So in your mind, when you have objectives, you are probably thinking in that mindset, who do I want to come and serve with us, right? What could their major be? What are their interests? What are their passions? What are the things that we really want to connect with these students, because we want them to maybe be long-term, right? Service learning students, we want them to stay with us. The other thing is we want them to feel like they are valued, right? We want them to see that there's real connection to what they're learning in the classroom, to what we're asking them to do with us. And then also giving them that experience so that maybe you have a pipeline to hire people, right? Or maybe that you become a mentor or a reference to them, or you have them as a way to connect to other people in the community who are doing similar things. So we really want to think about kind of really crafting these ideas for students in a way that makes it where you have a lot of opportunities for students for a variety of areas. So I'm going to bring up my friend Jessica Tercey. She is from Pathways to Opportunity. And Jessica so kindly agreed to come and talk about what she does. But really, I want her we're going to discuss and chat about how she really thinks about all majors when designing opportunities. And so I'm going to give you the clicker because you have a couple slides, and we'll chat about that.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Jessica Tercey. I am the Director of Disability Services for Goodwill, but specifically I oversee our Pathways to Opportunity program. So I would be remiss not to explain backstory of our program before I get into everything. So when you guys think of Goodwill, do you guys just automatically think of the stores? Yeah, pretty much. And that's what I usually get. Anytime I say I work for Goodwill, they're usually like, what store do you work at? You know, this one's my favorite, which I do appreciate, by the way. But so Goodwill does have a lot of mission services. So one of them is housing for seniors and seniors with physical disabilities. Do you guys know we're one of the largest housing providers in that realm? We also have community resource centers that are attached to our stores. We have a mobile community resource center, which is a giant bus that goes around with computers and helps people sign up for SNAP and different resources locally. We also have a microenterprise program that if someone wanted to start their own business, they get a mentor for 6 weeks and they get to develop their business plan or decide that they don't want to develop their business plan anymore. So those are all things we do, but I oversee the disability services. So specifically, that is our Pathways to Opportunity program. It is a life skills program for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So we serve about 100 individuals a year through that program. And that's where we, for the bulk, work on our service learning through FGCU. So on the screen, you will see a copy of our current calendar. So these are all the activities our folks can engage in throughout the week. There's about 55 different options on that calendar that they can choose from, Monday through Friday. So what we do is when we engage with service learning and Jamie and Justin, is that we really look at what the class is and then make it work for us. Yeah. So, for example, we had, Jamie had reached out about food and beverage. And initially I was like, not my realm of expertise. And then I thought about it and I was like, our ultimate goal is that our participants are able to gain life skills, right? And being able to go to a restaurant is something that most of us take for granted, right? I can decide that after here, I want to go get lunch. And I can go sit at a restaurant and pull out my laptop and work. For most of our folks, that's not something they can readily do without having it pre-planned by 17 people to get there, or saving a lot of money to get to that place. So what we did is our life skills class practiced for 2 weeks ahead of time, and they worked on communicating. So how do you appropriately order something in a restaurant? What are the etiquette when you're at a restaurant? What are the things you need to do? And then the folks showed up, and the students got to practice their end of food and beverage and service learning and things like that. But we also got to practice our part of it, of being the customer. And a funny side note for that one, I did tell them to dress up that day. And I told them just to look nice because they're representing our program. They got off the bus and it looked like a 90s music video. And I actually took a video of them coming off the bus.
Yes.
They were in like 3-piece suits,
a fedora,
fedoras, shawls. One of our ladies showed up in like silver, sparkly, bedazzled heels.
There's glitter.
There was glitter everywhere.
Yeah.
So I was very proud of them.
And I think that the important part to understand too is that I had to know that Jessica Terzi had this program about life skills, right? So this created this communication. Then on the other end, I have my friend, Chef Frazier, who teaches in the resort and hospitality program. He said to me, I'd love for my students to get real world experience. And I said, what does that look like to you? He's like, well, they need to design the menu. They need to create an atmosphere that we think about the music that's playing. We think about the front of staff, back of staff. We have a signature cocktail. I'm like, I am in, but it was a mocktail. It was a mocktail. And then when we did all of this, we then had to have students for them to practice on, right? So we needed to have this ability. And so talking with Jessica and talking with my other friends in the audience who have populations of students or participants that need that type of life skill, I started reaching out to all of my friends. And so I connected to lots of partners who were reaching that audience. And I said, would you like to come for a free lunch? And they said, yes, we would. And I said, okay, this is when you can come. It's going to be a long lunch because, again, our students are practicing, right? So everything that those students did on that end, everything they did to prepare for that lunch, all counted for service. While they served, counted as service. The cleanup, counted as service. And what a cool skill for our FGCU students to have to serve these individuals who are coming and learn how to speak to a wide variety of individuals, right? And so it would allow Jessica and I to communicate what was needed, right? It allowed me to know what the faculty was doing, and then I was able to merge those two together. But you'll also see, and I want to point it out because Jessica does a really fantastic job. putting all of these things together. What this allows me to do is to look at them and say, mathletes, great. I got some math people. I have a math class. And part of their objective is that they have to show mastery of X, Y, and Z. Do you need some math tutors? You want to tell them about your birdies?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have, side note, we have an advocacy council, which is the participants running for office within the program. So they do full campaign, posters, debates, the whole nine for a week. And they get to vote for their president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer of their program. So then the Lee County Elections Office comes out and does the full ballot. So they work on all the real world skills and responsible voting and everything. They have to show an ID to vote, and then those people hold those positions for 3 months. So those folks came to me about a year ago now and said, we really want to learn a sport. And I said, great, there's a million of them. Can you narrow that down for me? And they said, okay, we'll be back. So they polled their peers and came back to me and said golf was the class that or was the sport they wanted to learn. And I said, great, I'm gonna have to look into that because I am not a golfer by any means. Top Golf is afraid when they see me coming. So I reached out to different organizations, different partners we had. And so the Pathways Birdies got developed because that's the name they wanted to call themselves for their golf group. With that, though, when we were exploring who was going to help us teach this besides YouTube, we reached out to Jamie, and Jamie said, that's great, we have a golf management course. And so she connected me with that team in order to have that relationship to be able to say, okay, maybe we're going to go meet you here because the students need service learning hours and they get to teach a wide variety of abilities how to golf. So that's something else. And actually, because of the trip we made to come see the simulator here is where we got our idea for a grant proposal to have a small simulator in our program space so the participants could work on their golf skills. So it all kind of came, full circle for us.
And I think it works both ways too. So Jessica will come up and goes, I have this crazy idea. So it's not just, it's kind of both. But she said, I have this crazy idea. I would love someone to help us make something for virtual reality. And I was like, I do not know anything about virtual reality, but I know people who do. And so as the connector, you want to explain your idea and then how we got there? Okay.
Absolutely. So our side mission is just to make Southwest Florida more inclusive to our folks, but just to people of all abilities. So I'm always out there presenting, always out, trying to do presentations. I just did all of Fort Myers Fire Department's training on intellectual and developmental disabilities. So it's just something so the information is out there, right? So people know more about it. But every time that I do a presentation, I'm always like, I wish there was a way to really show someone what it's like to have a disability. And that's always my go-to. I can explain it with words, but unless you know someone in your family that has a disability or you yourself have one, it's really hard to explain and put it into context where it clicks for somebody. So the crazy idea I had one day at 3 a.m. when I woke up was that what if we use virtual reality to simulate having a sensory processing disorder? So you would see the bright lights, we might play really loud music, you may see that you get distracted really easily, like all the things that come with a sensory processing disorder. So I emailed Jamie and I was like, hey, I don't even know that I'm using the right terminology, but this is the idea I have. Do you think you can help me connect with someone that would know how to make this a reality? And so I did, and Jamie connected me to the engineering students. Yes.
Engineering department.
Yes.
And his goal is that students have something by the end of the term. So they work on 2 semesters. Mm-hmm. His goal is that the students have a product by the end. And so instead of just imagining the strangest projects you could think of, right? Like whatever their little brains could think of, right? And instead of it being for an imaginary company or for a fictitious need, there is an actual need. Mm-hmm. And so part of that is that Jessica then, when they're ready to start their projects, she will go into the class, she will pitch her idea, and the students then choose that they're going to work with her. So our goal is that we're going to have a lot of people who can funnel into that. The students can choose. If they choose to work with a nonprofit or government agency, all the work they do will be counted for service. If they choose, let's say, Arthrex, that work will not count for service, right? Arthrex needs things. We know that Arthrex needs things, but they are a for-profit. So service learning does not count for a for-profit. We have to connect them to a nonprofit or government agency, and they have to fill a need for them.
Mm-hmm. So that's where we, again, think of those. What is your main goal for your organization? And that's what we stick back to, is making Southwest Florida more inclusive, but also that our individuals can live as independently and safely as possible, right? And so anytime that we get opportunities, that's what we, tie it back to. So when I get an email from Jamie that, water school needs something, instead of me saying, well, I don't have anything to do with water, I'm looking at the calendar and being like, how can I make this connection, and how does it benefit our individuals? Because at the end of the day, that's additional exposure for the community to know what we do, but also for our individuals. Because I can say something till I'm blue in the face, and they're gonna nod and smile at me and be like, okay, Jessica, that's great. And if someone else comes in and says it, and they're like, oh my God, that is the most insightful thing I've ever heard in my life. And I'm like, yeah, I've only said that for 3 years. But for them, that's something that they can practice. Or we can determine whether or not they're really grasping those skills, right? Because I could say, oh yeah, they really understand this concept. But when we put them in a real world situation, maybe they don't really understand that concept. And so now the students get that exposure. And like Justin was saying earlier, I would rather someone figure out year one that, disability and IDD is not their thing than 4 years into a degree and then realize that they sunk all this time, energy, and money into a degree that they really don't want to use. Yeah. So we've actually worked with some nursing majors too, that they get experience in the field with the population to see, okay, maybe this isn't what I wanted, or maybe this is what I want to do.
And I think it's important when on face value, when you think about pathways to opportunity, you may think, okay, I'm only going to send my education majors that are interested in special needs. That on face value is what a student might think, right? But what we see right here is the way that the opportunities are crafted. I can think of a class, a club, or a student organization for every single one of these. And so knowing that, communicating with each other so that I know that these are their needs, and then thinking really strategically about the groups of students that we're going after. And so, for example, if we're looking at the ensemble, then I'm going to contact my friend over in Bauer School of Music and the Arts, right? If I have picture perfect photography, guess what? We have classes that are just around photography. If you're looking for zoologists, that's where I'm going to connect you to the water school. So they have really done a great way of thinking about their opportunities. Obviously, it's going to look different for you. You may not have a calendar like this, right? But when you're thinking about opportunities, and we're going to practice that today, really think about this many, many, many students' passions, majors, areas of interest that would be helpful for you to have, and not just think about that one type of student and that one major that can serve that one need. I think you have another slide, unless you want to talk more about this.
It's just pictures of activities that we've done. But something else that really consider, as Justin said before, the mutually beneficial aspect of it, we really have redone a lot of our class structure and a lot of their program structure based on having the students in the program. We've been able to say, hey, they really didn't understand what we thought we were achieving with this class. So we revamped it. We've even had students that come through and say, hey, I really would love an additional training. So now anytime we have service learning students, we give them the full tour as if they're a donor walking in the door. We explain from beginning to end what we do. We explain our background. We explain what our individuals are. We even give them a little bit of a disability etiquette training as we're doing the tour. So that way they're fully knowledgeable and comfortable before they even get face-to-face, we're individuals. If I can, sometimes I'll go to the class and do the disability etiquette training that I have for them. And if I can't, I do it on the fly as I'm doing the tour. So that way, now they become ambassadors for us. And if they ever encounter someone, they can say, hey, you know what? I just did service learning at Pathways to Opportunity. And Jessica said that they help people apply for the Agency for Persons with Disability. You should contact her. So now it's just that exposure without me having to run around and go to 70 places. I just had a bunch of students in there. So it really is just being creative and flexible with your options and opportunities and not getting so stuck on it's water school or it's, math or things like that. Just really consider what your ultimate goal is and how the students can help you reach that goal.
I think it's important to note also, as Jessica was saying, Goodwill has many kind of, arms to it, right? And so I have a social entrepreneurship class that works with Goodwill. They look at it through the sustainability component, right? And so I have a whole class that has been doing a long-term project with Goodwill. I even plugged in entrepreneurship students into your small business program. And so what a great way for entrepreneurship students who want to start their own business or have their own business to work with fellow individuals. And so as part of this, the entrepreneurship class, they have to understand foundational financial skills. And so that is something that they can then be in a kind of a guide on the side sort of thing, where they can follow along with the people who are learning to do finances and to see if they can be of any benefit to them. So there are a lot of different kind of avenues we explore. There are a lot of areas that we touch. Individual students, we'll talk about that, clubs, organizations as part of it, and then also the faculty integration. Questions for Jessica or myself about this? No, we're good? All right. Yes, go ahead.
So we work with the Teen Outreach Program with Children's Network. Is there any way to get you guys to come out and talk about the opportunities you guys, because some of these students are looking for community service hours. We're only able to provide them up to 20. So we'd be able to partner with you guys or even with Eugene in order to get those hours met for the students for the school year.
And they're high school students?
They're middle and high school.
Middle and high school students.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about
So
it.
we can have them. They do have to have someone with them if they're under 18. But as long as that's taken care of, we do have, side projects that they can do. We've had people come out and actually start our garden, and now it's a full program. So we can definitely put together projects if that's the case. Yeah.
And something to be aware of, our community partner database, which we have, it's public facing. You can use that your personal Google. And so all of those agencies that you all are a part of that are in the database, any of those database entries, those agency listings are all up to date. You can use those as a starting point for your people to look into places to serve. I have two high school students. They are always looking for opportunities to serve. I have them use our database because that doesn't exist anywhere else really. And so because that's public facing, it's a way, and we'll show you how to use it today. If they're interested in working with kids, they can type the word kids in, and every agency, they can narrow the results to where they live, and that can be pulled up that way. So really thinking about what the students are interested in, and then narrowing those results so that you can get that opportunity for them, but you can use our resources that we already have. Yes, Melanie.
So to connect your students, you need to earn their community service hours. If our team program has a specific community service project they are going to be working on, are you the contact to be like, this is what we're working on? Could you find a connection with your students to come out from whatever department with their knowledge and their expertise to come with us or come to our classroom?
Sure.
And work with us on that and be able to also educate our kids?
As long as it's serving a need. Yes. Oh, sorry. The question from Melanie is, if they have students who are looking for service, can someone like our students come and work alongside them through that service? Yes. So let's say that you want to make a garden. Let's just use that for an example, right? We have students who they love making gardens. And so they may have a variety of majors. And so they are looking for a project. You have a project. They will then come in and push into that. We just have to know that that is a need. need. Once we know that that is a need, students, and we'll show you how to put that out into the world. Once we know that's a need, then the students then can contact you. They're not contacting your students, right? They're contacting you, and then you are going to then serve as the site supervisor for that project they're working on together. And so that is kind of how we manage those connections.
Figure like you connecting students.
Yes, yes, yes. And again, it's connecting the right students at the right time. Yes. Did you have another question?
So when it comes to
Tutoring.
does that count for your students?
Our students can tutor, yes. Our students can tutor in a variety of ways, in a variety of clubs. We had a chemistry club that was tutors for local middle schools, or maybe Dunbar High School, I think. The chemistry club, that was their service project. And so Katie is your connection to all things clubs, Greek life, anything that there's a student organization that you need that to be plugged into. We got a call yesterday from Alliance for Period Supplies. They want to work with a sorority. And so I said, okay, here's my friend Katie. And so she knows that world. I know a little bit of a different world, but we work together to figure out what world is best for you. And we have a handout for that. Katie, yes. She's the one walking around in the sparkly skirt. You'll see her in a little bit. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so the physical site is in Fort Myers, but we do travel to the 5-count area. So we do Charlotte, Collier, Lee, Henry, and Glades. So oftentimes we will do like a summer week where we'll be in Collier all week, or we'll be in Charlotte all week. So yeah, we do try to travel as much as possible, just because we know the need is more than just Lee County. But yes, we do.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, any other questions for Jessica? Thank you for doing this for us. We appreciate you. So as much as she calls me, I call her. Yes. So now we're going to really start to think about where does this fit in the different frameworks. Every workshop we do, I try to think about kind of previewing a framework that we use so that you're familiar with it. If you've been to a lot of our workshops, we really kind of live in this 4 types of service. We're going to actually not talk about that today as much because my friend Joe, who is in the back, there's Joe Buhane, he does our interpersonal simulation for Marib College. Is that right, Joe? That's okay. And so on the back, he has brought this fancy proto machine, which when it's during mix and mingle time, Justin and I, with Joe's help, recorded a beautiful video. There, look at Justin showing that off like Vanna White. Yes. And so Joe has kindly brought over and recorded this for us. It is a 3D machine with 3D holographic machine over in Marib. And so he then has recorded us talking about the 4 types of service. So you have that. We also have a video online if you would like to watch it. We talk about 4 types of service a lot. We'll kind of just briefly touch on that. But we really are going to, thank you, Joe. We're going to spend some time talking about the NACE career readiness skills. As you heard Justin chat about this, we're really trying to think about students being career ready. It does not mean that we're not telling them to, quote, volunteer, right? We know that if you have an event, we know that you just may need some people to come in and help you prepare for that event, right? Like we know those are actual needs, and that counts for service learning hours as well. However, we want to kind of really stretch our mind to start thinking about how can we use students in their passion, in their major, in their career, and start formulating, like Jessica was saying up here, start formulating how we're going to find those students. So again, we chatted about this. These are, the T is down here. It got lost. Like a career and self-development, communication, critical thinking, cultural competence, leadership, professionalism, teamwork, and technology. So Justin kind of alluded to this earlier, but this is the idea that students don't know that they are learning teamwork, when they are working behind the scenes with you to solve a problem, to fill a need, to come together to create a solution, right? Unless you know the language that they're using. So we really try to hammer this home with the work that we do behind the scenes. The faculty know this type of language. We ask this when you are filling out EagleLink, which we'll talk about in a moment. And we also ask the students to tell us the skills they learned when they're reflecting on their service. So it came to us that we maybe need to spend more time thinking about developing those skills with you all, so that when you are writing opportunities and you're thinking about having students meet you where they are in those majors, that we are doing that together. So I want you to think about for a second, how does your service learning opportunity translate to a resume or an interview building experience? As all of you know who have been in interviews, you know they love the question, tell me about a time, right? So tell me about a time when you had to lead a team. Tell me about a time when you had to solve a problem. Tell me about a time that you had to adjust and learn new technology very quickly. What you are doing every day with our students is giving them the tools to talk about that time, right? And so our students need to be reminded of that, bless their souls, that you are helping them build this repertoire. And so we want to help you think about cataloging those experiences, formulating those experiences so that students then have those ready-made materials, and then it's a part of your vernacular as well. So you will find when you came in that you have a worksheet, because I'm a teacher and I love worksheets. And so this worksheet is a way for you to start thinking about any of your opportunities. And we're just going to spend a couple minutes. We're not going to spend a long time on this because we have lots of things to cover. But the worksheet, the first thing you need to do when you're thinking about the worksheet is thinking about a brief description of the need. As a refresher for those of you who are new to kind of our workshops, our needs fall under 4 categories: direct service needs, indirect service needs, advocacy, and research. So direct service needs are things that are more hands-on, eye-to-eye. So that could be, picking up the cans, dropping off the cans, filling the cans on the shelf, handing the cans out to the people, putting it in their car, right? The hands-on, seeing the people that you are helping eye-to-eye, right? Those are direct needs. That is typically what we think of first. The indirect needs could be things like marketing, social media, anything that you have that students can be doing outside of your building or outside of the people you're serving. Fundraising is a big one. Anything that you can think of that they can prepare. If you need lesson plans made, they are not doing that by looking at you in the eye, right? They're doing that at home on their computer or in their class. So that would be an indirect need. Advocacy, we know that we need advocates for us. You may need students to recruit other students for you. That could be an advocate, right? You may need students to enact policy change. You may need students to write letters to the editor. You may need students to create change on the campus or create their own program, whatever it may be. The last one is research. A lot of us probably have a lot of data sitting around. We don't really have the time to look at the data, or maybe we want to collect data and we need students who are putting a SWOT analysis together because there's a whole class for that, right? So think about that. Think about the different needs. And I want you just to pick just one of your needs that pops up at the top of your head. And in that box where it says step 1, you're just going to write a brief description of the need. So I gave you an example. Students will create social media posts. So you think about your one need that you have, as basic as it is, and you just write that in the box. No one's judging you. There's no rules. We're okay. So it could be a direct need, like I need students to pack boxes of supplies. It could be an indirect need. It could be I need students to create 10 social media posts to use in the fall. It could be an advocacy need. It could be, I need students to table for me at back to school fairs because I'm only one person and I don't have the capability to come to all these back to school fairs. And the last one is research. Do you need one? Yes, there you go. And then the last one is research, I need students to create a survey to understand our community, whatever it is. So just a sentence, nothing crazy. All right, and Luna, I'm going to look at yours because I lost my paper. All right. Now, since we wrote that, now we're going to start thinking about where does this fall? Where are they going to get the tell me when part? So now I have all the NACE career readiness competencies broken down. So think about the boxes that you can provide examples of what students will do. So you can start thinking about, based off the need that you wrote, can they develop their career in self-development? What can they take from that experience? What can they practice in that experience that would help them in their career self-development? So if you are looking for social media and you have a student that you want that's into PR marketing, maybe you're going to help them build portfolios. So that could be something that would really entice students. This is a portfolio building opportunity, right? A lot of our students who are computer engineering students, I love them so much. Their sole job is to create websites. And if they can add your website to their repertoire and on their resume and on their LinkedIn and use you as a reference, that would be fantastic for them. So think about, how would this help someone in their career? So if that is a good one, you can check that. You don't have to. It's just there as an option, right? It might not be for you for that need right now. The second one is communication. This is a big one, right? Oral communication, written communication, digital communication. That's a big one right now. How our students communicate. You know that they don't do a good job with emails, right? God, they don't like to call on phones. They like to text. So maybe you could say a student who would be working in this would gain skills in written communication via emails and newsletters, whatever it may be that you are trying to come up with your idea. So think about how that student will develop those skills. The next one would be critical thinking. This is a good one. Think about how many times we have to solve problems on the fly. Think about how many times students are asked to describe a time when they've overcome an obstacle. So you may have an issue. Like, I'm going to use Anna Luna as an example because I just met with her. One of their issues at Interfaith Charities is they don't think the flow of their space is great. Right? And so we have a class that one of their opportunities that they've given to the class is they want to reimagine the flow of that space. And what a cool opportunity for students in certain types of fields that love that type of work, right? We're thinking of our engineers, we're thinking of our, Justin, who are the people that, thank you. I always forget those people. Supply chain management, right? Understanding the flow of something, construction management students, right? Any of those things. Could that be a great critical thinking skill that they could talk through and say, I took an existing problem and I created a solution? The next one would be cultural competency. This kind of goes along with what Jessica was talking, right? If you have a variety of individuals that you serve, how would that student understand to be able to speak to individuals with different types of needs, from a variety of backgrounds, from a variety of socioeconomic statuses? What a great skill for students to be able to say that they are learning from that opportunity that you gave them. So now all of a sudden you have this, again, I'm going to use the social media post as an example, but a person to understand how to craft a message that would reach anyone from, a 12-year-old to a 90-year-old is a skill. And if you can explain that to them and they can understand that they will be developing that skill while they're working on this, all of a sudden your opportunity seems a little more exciting. Right? Then we have leadership. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. What leadership opportunities does this have? Can the student grow into this position? Will the student be leading a team of other students? We have something, I always like to say, it's kind of like train the trainer. A lot of people we talk to say, I'm only one person. Like, I can't do all these things. And I'm like, That's right. I get that. So it's okay if you can think about how can you train someone to do what you need them, what you don't have the ability and time to do. And that's a leadership position. So if you have all these events that you're asked to go to, the Service Learning Fair is a good example. You may just have a very, very tight schedule. And so can you train a student to take on a leadership role to then recruit for you in a variety of capacities, to represent your organization in a variety of capacities? What a great skill to talk about during an interview or on your resume or put it on LinkedIn. So we have professionalism. Gosh, this is a good one, right? Thinking about how we want students to represent themselves, how we want students to dress, to behave, to communicate, right? How would they be put into different situations where they'll have to practice those professional skills? Do you have experiences that will allow them to do that? Thank you, Anna Luna. Teamwork and technology are our last two. Will they be working with a team? Will they be working on their own? Will they be working with other FGCU students? Will they be working with a variety of individuals who also may show up to serve, right? So I'm thinking of, for example, St. Matthew's House, right? You walk in as a volunteer, you don't know if you're going to be with an FGCU student or someone who has been volunteering there for 40 years. Right? So again, can you explain to that student that they will gain experience working on a team with a variety of individuals with a variety of backgrounds? And then the last one is, what did I say it was? Technology, right. The ability to use different technology. Students are so good at so many things with technology. So many things. Like, for example, graphs. They're not great for me. I'm just going to be real honest with you. I'm not great with graphs. I'm not great with Excel. There are students who this is their love. They won't come to you and they will not plant mangroves. That would be me in school. Like, I'm not getting sweaty. I'm not going outside. I'm not planting your mangroves. However, do you want me to make a GIS map of where all your mangroves go? I could do that because I can do that from my house in the air conditioning, and I could do it at 3 a.m. when I'm up in the middle of the night. Right? So any pieces of technology and the ability to learn the technology quickly. So you may have lots of different platforms. If the student could be trained to how to use that platforms, or in some instances, we have some students and some faculty who their class revolves around making your technology better. So if you were running into a pain point where you're like, this is not really working because we're running into this issue and this issue, we can think about how can that student with their expertise and what they're learning in their class make your technology easier to use. So really thinking about the student as a whole, thinking about all the different areas where the students can rise to the occasion, and this allows students to see themselves and also fill a need. A lot of times our classes will ask students to figure out what skills they are going to be working on. So Foundations of Civic Engagement is a great example of this. As part of their project proposal, they have to name 2 skills that they're going to be working on for the duration of the project. If you know what you're looking for, that helps them really effectively communicate that to their faculty member and also to you, saying, I really would like to work on a leadership role. Is this something that I could work on while I'm working with you on this project? And you would say, absolutely. Right? We have this, this, and this ready for you. So thinking about that, thinking about the communication that we communicate to students in a variety of ways. And Luna, I'm gonna do this again. I'm sorry, my friend. And then the step 3 would be, how will the student use their skills to gain experience, explore, confirm, or refine their major? So now thinking about all the things that we have here. You may not take that simple sentence that you first wrote in step 1. It's like, I need students to write social media posts, to students will be able to use their digital and written communication skills to build a portfolio for their marketing major in order to create blank amount of social media posts that we may use, period. Now, all of a sudden, we've taken something that is good, right? We're excited to help you with your social media posts. Lots of requests for social media come in. But what is yours going to be different? What are the students going to take away from your opportunity? What are the skills that they can then take to their job or their interview or to their graduate school? Does that make sense? Any questions? So we're not going to spend a lot of time with me I know that you'll probably want to take this back to your team. You'll want to think about how you organize some thoughts and ideas for your students. But this is just to get you starting to think about the ways in which we can communicate to students our needs. And then now that we've kind of thought about our needs, the next step is now like putting this in action, right? Is, okay, now we know what we want. The next step is how do we communicate it to the students that we have? And so, what time is it? Oh, so we're a little early. We're going to skip around because she's not coming in until 10:30. That's okay by me. Don't pay attention to this. Don't pay attention to my game. Okay. So now that you've put this into place, Justin, are you okay? I saw you walking quickly. Okay. I'm on alert. Now that we've kind of thought about our objectives, right? We thought about the projects and the ideas that we want for our students. Now the thought is, okay, where do we go now? What do we do now that is going to draw those students in? And so you have probably a multitude of times received this link from me for Eagle Link. This Eagle Link site is kind of your gateway to all things student. I am one gateway. Katie is one gateway. This is a way to communicate with a large amount of students.
One of the things I want to mention about Eagle Link is that it's essentially, think of it as an electronic bulletin board. You're going to fill out a form. When you have these needs that Jamie was just walking you through, kind of that beginning brainstorming process of what truly could students do for you, for your organization, for the mission of your organization. Sometimes organizations will say, well, we have a lot of privacy or security with the work that we're doing, and students really can't come to our site. So think about virtual things, but also what could they do for the mission of your organization? Here's a good example. I was teaching a class a couple years ago. I had a group of students who were very interested in doing human trafficking work. And so they partnered with a human trafficking organization, but that organization said, hey, you cannot come to our site. Like, there's too much security, there's too much risk. And so they actually, on their professional staff team, they had one person who's one of that person's hats. That person had like 20 hats. One hat was raising awareness about human trafficking in Southwest Florida. And so that person trained my group of students to then go out and train others in the community, whether that was Kiwanis clubs, that was firefighters and educators, that was doing information sessions at the local libraries. So they trained my students to do the training that they always do. So now that one hat that one person wore, where they were able to do maybe 2 presentations a month, now my students were able to do many presentations all month during that entire semester, because now it did take some time because they had to train my students to be able to answer questions, to be able to give the presentation. They had to watch my students give that presentation, make sure they felt good about it. So it did take time, but the return on that investment of time from the organization was magnified because now they had trained the trainers to go out and raise awareness. So I always want to raise that point and give that example, because it doesn't have to be them coming to your site, especially students who don't have transportation. We have a lot of students on campus who do not have easy access to transportation. And as many of you know, Southwest Florida is not the most public transportation friendly place. And so things like that can be difficult. So my students had a team within their group who actually just did virtual trainings. And that was actually very popular. It was coming right out of COVID, and people were really into virtual trainings then. So there's lots of options. But I want you to think about Eagle Link as an electronic bulletin board where you submit those needs or those wants and requests that you're dreaming up in those 4 categories, the 4 types of service. And then you submit it into a Google form. That's that link that Jamie is always sending out. It's also on our website. We'll show you where that's at on our website. And then we have a student assistant in our office who takes what you submit and they put it into posts like this in Eagle Link. So you don't need to know the name Eagle Link. It's helpful, but it's just an on-campus branding thing. It's just an electronic bulletin board. And when a student comes here, they can scroll through. There's the needs and the posts on there. vary from 125 to 275, anywhere throughout the semester, depending on the time of the semester and how many needs are coming in from you all. But students know a couple things. They know that if it's posted here, the organization is pre-approved. So they don't have to go through the approval process and worry about, is this an organization that I can actually work with and get service learning hours for? The other thing that they know on here is date, time, location, and how to sign up. Again, it's electronic bulletin board. They're not signing up on here. You're putting in that link, in the form that Jamie's linking, you're putting how they, one of the questions is, if a student's interested, how do they register? It might be that you have a sign-up genius, and we put that link there. It might be contact so-and-so at your organization, we put that there. But every post, when you click into it, gives them more information about it and tells them how to sign up. It also tells them if it could be remote or virtual. I think, you know, you see up here, they say ongoing, which might mean like every Monday forever, we need tutors or something like that. Or it might be a one-time thing where maybe you need a photographer for a very specific event at a very specific time and a very specific location. So everything gets put on here. Students can then search by keywords. So they can go in here, if they're an early education major and they're trying to get some experience around young kids to see if that's really what they want to do, they can go in here and they can type kids, and they'll bring up anything that has that keyword anywhere in the description or the title. So it really is a good posting opportunity for you all. We say it's a great starting point. So even if you think your opportunity is going to be probably best with a class, and you have a desire to talk with Jamie and try to find a faculty member in a class, we always encourage you to still put it up here, because you never know who's going to be the right fit for you. Just like students often don't know if their major is exactly the right major for them, we never really want to say, oh, we get a lot of partners who, of no ill will or ill intent, they'll be like, I need... This is a kind of funny one, but they'll always say, I need a fraternity, and I need a group of guys this Saturday to come move heavy things. Okay, there's a lot of assumptions made there. And so we try to say, well, okay, tell us more about what's happening. Like, why do you think that you need a fraternity of a bunch of guys? Like, what's going on? Or they'll say, you know, I need science students to come. I need math majors to come and be math tutors, or I need English or French majors to come and teach French. Well, yes, those might be great starting points, but there are other people outside of being a French major who know French. And so if we put it up here, what we see a lot of, photography is a good example. They'll say, I need a photography class. There are a lot of students who have really great photography skills, but they're accounting majors or they're environmental science majors. So if we limit it, and that's the only place we advertise it, you really limit your options. We've got 16,000 students here. And so really keep in mind, this is a great starting point. You always want to fill out that form and put your need in there, because you just don't know who has the skill that you might need, even though it might not be their major. Or it might be something they're considering majoring in, and they look at it and they go, I'm currently an English major, but I've thought about majoring in digital media design. And so they might come in here and look for something where they have to do graphic design work. So keep that in mind. This is always the best starting point. Anything you want to add to that?
I think that something to remember also is that you can send pictures. However, our students are in that mindset that they know what students like to see. And so if you work on a really beautiful flyer, and we love that for you, we'd be happy to link it for you. Flyers don't look great up here. And so our students, part of their job is that they look to find pictures that look engaging to catch the students' eyes. We want them to be in that mindset. And so a lot of the times you'll see that we may not put up your picture. It's not, that we don't think yours is great. But we know what students like. And then also, you can also let us know if you all of a sudden, high communication times is going to happen soon at the very beginning of the semester. When that happens, you may get an influx of people. You can just let me know, I have too many people, please take this down. You don't have to sign into anything. You don't need a password or anything like that. You just let us know. We will say no problem, and we'll hit delete. And so that's really easy for you just to think about. You give us all the details. We write it in a student-friendly way, so you don't have to think about it. You need to really concentrate on what we've been discussing is, what are they going to bring away from this experience when they are finished working with you.
So this is the homepage of our website. And I bring this up so that you can kind of see then you submit the need, it goes into EagleLink. How does the student find that? Well, the 4 buttons at the top of our homepage are the 4 main reasons any student is coming to our website. So they're coming here to track their hours. They're coming here to see what events we have. They're coming here to connect or find a community partner. That goes to our database that you probably already know about, but we'll also show that in a little bit. And then they're coming here to find opportunities, which goes to EagleLink, goes to that page that I've been mentioning. So I'm going to click here so you can see. This is the live version. This is public. Anyone in the world can come here and use this site. We actually have been told that many high school students use this site. We don't mind. So it's not private to just FGCU in any way. That is also nice because you can come in and see what your posting looks like. Now, what I'll say is sometimes you think it needs to look one way. The student assistant who is receiving the form that you fill out electronically, they often will try to interpret it in a way that's attractive to a college student. So even Jamie and I are we work with college students every day, and sometimes we're like, we don't know best how to phrase this for a student because we want them to see it. We want them to see this as attractive and respond to this need. But it's really our student assistants in our office who are like, no, a student's never going to click on that. I'm like, okay. So they'll try to find an image that really gets students' attention. They'll try to find the right phrasing, the right words to use, different things like that. So you can see in here right now we've got 145, and we usually say that get up to about 250 or 275 throughout the term. We do encourage you to fill out that form and get this populated with all of your needs, everything you can think of for the term as soon as possible. Like I said, students are moving back next Wednesday, a week from today, and very quickly, like their first days of class, many, about over 300 classes this fall. The first day they'll look at the syllabus with their instructor, and at some point in that syllabus, the instructor will say, and this project here will require you to find a community partner, or will require you to find a need in the community. And so they come here and they look at what you've posted. So if you don't have your stuff in here, they're going to miss the opportunity. So really, truly, enter your needs, your wants, anything we've been brainstorming, and your gears have hopefully been turning a little bit. You want to get that in here pretty quickly.
And can I also add? This is something that I also use as a springboard to give it to other people. So if I look that there's a big event happening, I'm going to send this link then to my friends over in the Resort and Hospitality program who are those students are looking to work events. So you may not know that that's working behind the scenes, but the student who creates this works directly under me. Every time she creates one, I see this. And so then I take that email and I take that link and I send it to who I think would be great. So if it's a photography need, I'm going to send to my friends in photography. If it's the arts in Bonita Summer Camp, my friends over in that area, I'm going to send it to my friends in the arts program. So we use this in a variety of ways. It just doesn't sit stagnant. It's used as a jumping point for me and other people in our office. We may also see this, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, and we see that you have an event, and I will say, do you want to turn this into a service learning trip? And if the answer is yes, then we take that something. We don't know you have an event coming up until maybe we see it in here, and then we can then in turn help you turn this into something where we can get a larger group of students to help you.
So you'll see I typed in the word kids, and streamlined it a little bit to anything that has kids in the title or the description. So our students will do the same thing. They'll also usually be accessing this on their phone. So it's a good idea for you to get on your phone and click to our website and click into here to see what it looks like on your phone. How attractive is it on your phone? What are they going to see? And they'll scroll like it's Instagram. They'll scroll through opportunities until they see something that they want to click on. I love that this organization, I don't even know who this
Premier Mobile Health Service.
yeah, Premier has already put in something for December 6th. Why is that wonderful? That is wonderful because, again, students in certain classes are trying to plan out who am I working with at what point in the semester. So feel free to put things in for the entire semester so that students can plan accordingly. I will say this is going to be a difficult date
Yes,
for
that's
our
what I was going to
students.
say. And if you come to us, part of our conversation may be you're like, I'm having a huge golf tournament and I'm having it on December 15th, and I will say best of luck to you because our students will be gone.
The worst is December, like 2nd, when
Yes.
graduation's happening.
Yeah, it's we go into finals and then we lose them for a little while, right? There's always going to be local students, but and I think that we sent that out in the beginning of the semester, something like be mindful of the academic calendar, right? If you have a big event where you need lots of friends to come and help you, be mindful of our academic calendar. After Thanksgiving, it gets a little sketchy, right? And we kind of start to lose students. So our big time, August 18th is when school starts for us. By mid-September, many of them, if not all, have secured partners for a class project. So if it's not up here, they may not know it exists.
Now remember, there's different buckets. So the class projects are going to be more throughout the semester connected to a faculty member in a class. But if you have a need that comes up in October, that might be really ideal for an independent student, meaning they're just finding it and they want to come do it, or for a student organization, or a lot of our student organizations have service requirements every month. So they have a service chair, a person in their organization who's finding something for the group to do in September, finding something for the group to do in October, in November. And so there are different buckets to pull from, but those class partnerships are going to be hard for you to make after the first week of September.
So we're gonna.
I don't know what this does.
Oh, question.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Question about tracking of hours. That has been a challenge for me
Mm-hmm.
and some of the students, and just not understanding what they need to do on their end.
Mm-hmm.
So could you just
We're going to talk about that later. So just a preview. We're going to talk about tracking your hours and kind of the pitfalls that some of us learn into. So yes, we'll definitely cover that. Yes. Awesome. Yes, go ahead.
So you said that only do it through the semester. Can we do it through April?
Oh, yes, yes. And so typically we will let it run until the end of semester. So we will have a cutoff like May 1st sort of thing.
And we try our best to recontact you and say, is this a need that you still would like posted? Has it been filled? Those sorts of things. That doesn't always happen for a number of reasons. So you can always contact us and say, could you just renew that last post?
Yeah, and it kind of matriculates out, and as the posts are getting ready to leave, they come up onto the screen. And so some students will see that it says, for example, July 1, and they're like, well, that's already passed. Well, if you click into it, you'll see that it's July 1 running all the way to May 1, and that's why students are still seeing that. And so it has nothing to do with you having to fix anything or anything like that. It's just the way that we set that up. The best way, in my opinion, is to have more posts available. So instead of just doing one post for all the things, you have a separate post for every need. Yes, and that's simply Google Forms. But guess what? A student could do that for you.
Yeah.
You could have a student who their job is to coordinate volunteers for you, and they can write out those forms for you with all the needs that you have. Yeah.
So we do have a guest speaker here, but before we transition to that, I just want to say that's Eagle Link. That's where all the opportunities, specific opportunities, what you need students to do lives. After our guest speaker, we'll actually circle back and I'll show you the database where your information about your organization lives.
Yes.
And so they live in two different places. We'll talk about why that is and how that can actually be beneficial for you.
And hours live in a third place to make things a little more confusing. And then Ashley's going to talk about the fourth place, which is Eagle Career Network. So I'm going to bring up our guest speaker, Ashley. She is the better half of our umbrella of experiential learning. So we have an umbrella of experiential learning. Service learning is one part of that. Ashley is the second part of that, which we're going to talk today about internships. And then we have a third part of that, which is career. So we all work under the same umbrella. We're all working with students. We're just working sometimes with different partners. So say hello, Ashley, to all of our friends.
Hi, everybody. Also, Jamie just called me her better half, and I'm going to just ride that for the rest of the day. It's so nice to see some familiar faces in here. Some of you may have interacted with me or my office before, but like Jamie mentioned, yeah, we're kind of two sides of the experiential learning coin. So I'm very excited to come in, give you a little bit of information alongside Jamie and answer any questions that you have.
So when you checked in, we do have their rack cards about if you're looking to hire an intern. And also we have their QR code, which goes into their handbook. Just so you know, you don't have to worry about feverishly writing all these things down. On your agenda on the back, it will give you a link to all of the resources that we've talked about. So you can click through, you can access all of our presentation slides, and you can access an electronic agenda by clicking on that. So I asked Ashley to come in because I think one of the main questions I get probably more often than not is, I'd like an intern. Can you help me with that? And then I will say, an intern or a service learning student? And then the partner will say, aren't they the same? I'm like, no, friend, they are not. And so we thought it would be great to explain the difference. We are different people, right? We are different people. We have different offices, and they actually also use a different platform to track their hours, which gets very complicated, okay? We use, anyone know? No, we use EagleLink to give them their ideas, but we use Eagle Service Network to track hours. Interns track hours on Eagle Career Network. So if you are in Eagle Career Network, you're attached to interns. If you're in approving hours in Eagle Service Network, you're attached to service learning. Okay. Can you give them a little just spiel about internships as a whole? Kind of what you think of when students are coming to you, where they are maybe in their place in the world, all that good stuff.
Sure, yeah. So if you feel like the next 25 minutes or so, there are some things that sound a little complicated, it's because they are. So that's why I'm here, right? That's why I'm invited here, like Jamie mentioned. We've got all these different platforms, different ways that students can work with your organization. We are going to get into the differences between service learning and internships, but just to give you kind of an overall idea of what my office does is we oversee what's called work-based learning. So I think that's the easiest way to keep it a little bit separate. So you're talking about service where students have skills that they can bring to your office and help your organization. When we talk about work-based learning, that means the students are coming in wanting to learn more about their field, their industry, what you do. And so some of the major differences are that on our side, they're going to be, maybe for the first time, applying what they're learning in their academics out in the real world. They're going to be supervised by an experienced professional. This really is one of their first substantial professional positions that they're holding or roles that they're fulfilling in their career path. And so I think we'll get a little bit more into the details of that, but you can think of this as a more substantial work opportunity to join your team, to learn from you as the expert or the experienced professional in your field, rather than maybe coming in and serving in order to further an initiative or an event or something that you already have.
So when you're putting something on EagleLink, so we're talking about that online postings, one of the things that we will contact you about is sometimes in those details you'll say, I'm looking for an intern. So right away our alarm bells go off. off. And we're like, oh no, are they in the wrong place? And so we will then contact you and we will say, are you looking for an intern or are you looking for a student to complete service learning hours? If you're looking for an intern, we hand them off to the internship office, right? They have their own sets of procedures. They have their own ways that they do things. And then we have our own. So when we use EagleLink, we don't kind of cross-contaminate in that way, right? And so we want to make sure that you know the difference. It is confusing because it's a very, very similar language. And I thought it would be fun to have a game, because why not? So this is kind of like a matching, all right? So we're going to kind of test your knowledge about the differences and similarities between what we do in our office with service learning and then what Ashley in her office does with Eagle Career Network and internship. So let's start with the big ones, paid and unpaid. Where do you think those belong? Who can get paid and who can be unpaid? Just shout it out. Yes. So Eagle Career Eagle Career Network for interns, they can be paid or unpaid, right? Ashley, can you talk about that?
Yes. So interns, we encourage all of our employers to pay interns if possible. However, we know that is not always possible. And so there is a set of rules from the federal government called the Fair Labor Standards Act, and there's a test that's on there of whether or not your unpaid internship opportunity is legal. However, there is a different set of rules for nonprofits. So we want to make sure that we get you the right one. However, just know, paid or unpaid, we encourage you to pay if possible because it is going to be a substantial contribution. It's the aim, right, to your mission, to the work that you're doing. But yes, paid or unpaid can go in Eagle Career Network.
And service learning always has to be unpaid. Always. There's no question about that. Let's talk about the requirements. Some majors require, all majors require. What do you think the difference is for that? What about all majors require? What do you think? Service learning, right. Service learning is all majors, no matter where you are in the world, whether you're an education major, a social work major, or an art major, you are going to have to complete service learning in order to graduate from FGCU. Internships, not the case.
Yes. So when it comes to requirements for internships, you do not have to remember anything except that some students may have a required internship. It's our job over here to know which ones they are, which majors they are. However, I can explain that some students have a required internship course in their major. All students in that major, like our communication major, they have to complete an internship with an internship course before they graduate. Some of our students have the opportunity to take an internship course in their major as a restricted elective, which basically is at the end of their degree requirements. It says you have to choose however many credits from this whole list, so it's an option for them. We do also have free elective classes, so any students who finish their major requirements and still haven't met the 120 credits to graduate with their degree, they can take my university-wide internship course as a free elective. So that, I tell you all of that, not because you need to remember it, but just so that you know that not all students are required to take an internship course, and also students can take or can complete an internship without taking an internship course at all. One of the most important things to remember is we do have employers sometimes who will say, you will get academic credit for completing this internship. Any employer cannot know that. So we don't want to promise academic credit, although you can encourage them to come back and talk to their internship contact or their academic advisor, and we can figure out if they are eligible for academic credit or to take an internship course at the same time.
Perfect. Let's talk about where we house your information. Database versus Career Service Network. Database is for service learning, right? A lot of people, the most confusing I think this becomes is I'll say to a partner, we'd love for you to put something in EagleLink so we can send all your information out. However, in order to put that in there, we need you to be active in our database, our community partner database. And they will be like, it's in there. I've even signed an MOU. I'm like, not with me, my friend. And so what that then triggers in my mind is they have done this with Ashley's office. And so we house all of our information in the community partner database. You sign a letter of engagement, which is an electronic letter of engagement saying we're agreeing, you're agreeing, we're keeping everyone safe, all those things. Ashley has a whole different verification process. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so if you are ever interested in recruiting from FGCU, either for internships, part-time jobs, or full-time jobs, Eagle Career Network is where you do that. So you would register yourself, you sign in as an employer, and you create a profile for us that helps our students understand who you are, what you do, what your mission is, helps create brand recognition, and that goes through a vetting process in our office. So we review all of those, make sure you're legitimate, right? Because unfortunately we do have some scammers out there who try and take advantage of our students. So we vet you, we check all of your information, we approve that. Once you are approved as an employer, then you have the opportunity to post any of your career opportunities within Eagle Career Network. You're also added to, you can opt out, but you're added to the email that goes out that opens up things like our career fair, so you can come recruit on campus. You can do information sessions with students if you want. It just offers more ways to recruit for the career and internship side of things if you are in our database. That's also where you would register for career fairs and that kind of stuff too.
And again, ours would be different with the Service Learning Fair. Students who come to that are just looking for service learning opportunities, unpaid opportunities. They have their own different events. This also brings up this idea of verifying hours. So, which we were talking about here with Dr. Cruz, we do verify the hours because it is a graduation requirement. We do that through Eagle Service Network. We'll talk about that. They have their own verification process. Eagle Career Network.
It's very similar to your hours verification. It just is for internships instead of.
One thing we want to really remind people is that students are not able to double dip. So if you have a student who is there doing an internship that has said to you, can I also earn service learning at the same time? They are not able to do that simultaneously. They are not able to enter hours into Eagle Career Network for internships and service learning at the same time because we call that double dipping. It doesn't allow them because they have certain types of requirements and we have different requirements. And so what would happen is the student would then end their internship. So let's say they're doing a 250-hour internship. They end their 250-hour internship, and then they can then earn service learning hours after that ends. And vice versa. It can work both ways. That service learning, we would love for that service learning to turn into an internship. We would love that to then turn into a career for them. So I think of it kind of as those stepping blocks that bring students through that path of experience. We are service learning, obviously. We are looking at it in a different way. We are only working with nonprofits and government agencies. Ashley works with for-profit and nonprofit.
I'll add one more layer to the intern into service learning hours. I might be making this a little bit more complicated, but when a student is taking an internship course or has an internship requirement, they also have a set number of hours that they're required to do based on how many credits they're in. So this is where I'm trying to make it less complicated, but it's going to end up more complicated. Once they're done with their required internship hours for any course or graduation requirement they have, they can still technically be your intern, but start earning service learning hours. We can't double dip the requirements, but an intern who is not taking an internship course or does not have internship hours required here can earn service learning for those hours that they're doing. Not the other way
Yes,
around.
not the other way. As long as the student also knows that we're tracking them differently.
Yeah.
So they would literally have to track in different portals. That's an us problem, not really a you problem, but it's something that we're working with them to understand the difference.
There's a turning point once they finish an internship requirement. Where then it can turn into service learning.
Exactly. And so we have this handy dandy handout for you. At the bottom, you'll see that we have kind of separated the two different programs. You'll see that there's different websites for that. And we go through the different types of service learning and internships. So if you are confused about if your opportunity would be best for service learning or internships, you can ask either of us. I do want to point out a big difference here for me is that for service learning, the individual student can be supervised by any staff member. They do not have to have they don't have to be filling that role in order to be supervise. Ashley is different.
Yes. So one of the what we call critical components of internships here is that students are supervised by an experienced professional in the field in which they are interning. So that means, I'll give you an example. Our students, our Gen Z students, have a reputation for being great at social media, right? And every business owner wants a social media intern to take over that part of their enterprise, right? So I get a lot of requests for those. My first question for vetting if it's an internship or should be a part-time job is, who currently does social media in your organization? If the answer is no one, that's why we want an intern. That's actually not an internship. That is kind of taking on a role that is I guess, substituting for rather than complementing something that should be a full-time or a part-time job, like a contracted employee or something like that. However, if the person responds and says, well, our in-house social media manager currently does that, and that is who will be supervising our intern, green light, right? Because we're not just kind of throwing them to the wolves and saying, hey, take over this part of our organization. We're giving them someone to learn from, and then that person who's supervising them now has somebody who can help with all of their projects, all of their responsibilities, that kind of thing.
So if you communicate to me that you need an intern, I will then give you this information that you're seeing here. The main thing that you'll know is it's the ICP at fgcu.edu. If you contact me and say, hey, I want to hire one of your students, like Arts Bonita did this, and I said, oh, great, here we are. Not me, but Eagle Career Network. And so I'm able to give you kind of those points of contacts. You can find those online as well. And then you can also directly communicate to that department. Questions for Ashley or myself about any of those things?
So we have a podcast room that we actually have an intern right now. My operation director, she runs it, but that's not her main thing. But would that still be
Okay, excellent question.
Can you repeat the
I will.
question?
Yes. So the question is collaboratory, right? So okay. So they have a podcast room or a podcast studio. Great. I should know that. I have my own podcast.
Yes.
A podcast studio that someone on their team runs. However, it's not their main focus, and the job title is not podcast studio manager or something like that. Can you still have an intern in that area? My short answer would be yes. If you have someone who is an experienced professional, that's why I kind of write it that way up here. You have someone who is an experienced professional who can teach that student how to run the podcast studio. They might not be there all the time, but they're almost like their go-to or their mentor, right? Their professional mentor in that area. As long as you're an experienced professional in that area, then I would say that sounds good to me. I'm glad you asked that question. I've actually been to one of these before, and somebody said, well, we have a really small team, and a lot of us wear multiple hats, right? So you may be the CEO of your nonprofit, and you have experience or expertise in this area, this area, this area, or this area. I would say that you are likely qualified to have an intern in any one of those areas, even though that is not your full-time title. We just want to make sure that whoever is supervising that intern has the ability to pass on knowledge to help develop skills in that area, and we're not just kind of saying, oh, you're now in charge of the podcast studio, figure it out.
Right. Actually, a question that I always get, and I run 2 doors down and ask you, so we'll ask this here. So let's pretend you have a student that you need an intern. So you have a long-term need, okay? I'm thinking about community partnership schools because this came up. You have a long-term need for one student to be with you for an entire semester. I will say to you that may not be the best fit for a service learning student. You may be looking for a specific niche of student that would be more of an intern. And then they will say, but we cannot pay this person. So then I will come to my friend over here and ask Ashley, what happens and what are the resources for students? If you get a student who says, I need a paid internship, I don't know where to start, Ashley is that person that can help you guide them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. I can give another very common example for nonprofits for that longer term opportunity too. And I think a lot of you might be really interested in this opportunity. So I know you all have events of many kinds, right? Whether they are a celebration or a development event, right? Fundraising event or something like that. I know a lot of you put those on. So a good example that could differentiate the difference between our areas is, let's say that you put on an event every November and you would like to include students in that event. If you were to say hire a student in August as an intern to come on and help you with the entire event planning process, they are, getting certain tasks, your event manager, your event planner is who's supervising them, that's an excellent internship, right? If you need students just to help be at that event, to help it run, that's a great service learning opportunity.
Or it could be a great class partnership. So I work with a lot of hospitality programs that we talked about with Jessica. Part of their project may be that they need to initiate one event. Depending on timing, right? If your event happens in August, we cannot get a class working with that, right? It would be very, very hard, unless I had a summer class and I worked some magic. It was a whole thing. If you had, let's say, a November 1st event, I could get a class that is studying that for their degree to help come on and help you with that partnership to prepare that event. That is also an option. So you have some kind of wiggle room inside those, again, depending on who is at your office, what is that capacity for those people at your office, and what's your long-term needs. What are you really looking to develop there? And you had a question.
Would the opportunity for long-term be not just a semester? What if I need that person for a year? And then also, what if I need that person longer than a year? Would that person have to could they sign up for an internship more than one time to work at that same
And that's the opportunity, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so good question. I would say if your intention is to have an intern longer than a semester, be very upfront about that as you're hiring. Maybe include it in the job description, talk about that's your intention through the interview process, that type of thing. Absolutely, we have interns who stay on longer than a semester. That definitely happens, especially if it's a really good fit for both sides, right? You're enjoying having that student as an intern, and that student is also feeling like they want to continue working on your mission and with your organization. What I do recommend, though, is using our semester system as almost a reevaluation period, right, where you kind of use it as a unit of time of this is the commitment, right? And of course, as with any hiring in any type of role, I don't want this to happen for you, but every once in a while it won't be a good fit, or a student might have something come up and they leave. That doesn't happen as often, but if we use kind of the semester system as, okay, you're definitely committed through the semester. We intend to keep you for the entire academic year, but we're going to use, say, December as a time to give you an evaluation or have a conversation about, is this a good fit, what's working, what isn't, and formally extend your internship another semester. If you kind of use that more formal commitment for employment or hiring or something like that, that tends to really work well for the students, and it gives both of you an out, right? Because at that point too, if you hire a student, say in August, and you tell them at that point that you intend to keep them for the whole year, but it's not working out for you, now you also have a point where you can say, well, maybe it's time that we move on or get a new intern or something like that.
And also be mindful that the students will not know their spring schedule until, later on in that fall semester. So what has worked really well for their fall schedule for you, same with service learning, may not work as well for them in spring, just based on the availability of classes. So it can change their dynamic. And we'll have students, I will say, our busiest time at FGCU on campus is Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so that's when our classes are the most full, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I see everyone writing this down, because if you're looking to do an event on Friday, Saturday, right, those tend to do pretty well because we don't have as many bodies and seats on Fridays, right? Mondays and Wednesdays, there's quite a few students, but our busiest times on campus are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you're thinking about that, you have opportunities that you want to fill on Tuesdays and Thursdays, be open to the idea that maybe switching it to Mondays and Wednesdays or Wednesdays and Fridays may give you a little more traction, right? We're really in service learning, really working through that student who has a full course load. They may be a variety, right? Freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors who are trying to get them service learning. Internships, would you say, are they more upper level students?
Usually,
Yes.
yeah. I do, however, every once in a while have a student on their very first day of college ever knock on my door and say, I'm ready to intern. However, that it is much more common. And we actually will get some sophomores who are interested in getting started early. Absolutely. It just depends on the student. But most of the students who are ready to intern are in junior and senior year.
And that's where we come in handy those first 2 years.
Definitely. I'll add one more thing really quickly about, I just had a thought about internship classes that is a little bit different than service learning too. If you do hire an intern and they take an internship course, they are likely going to have additional assignments, and some of those may have to involve your cooperation. So for instance, if a student is in my internship course, they're required to sit down and have a meeting with you to, ultimately the intention is to get them used to approaching their supervisor to make sure expectations are the same, right? So they helped create a learning agreement, and that is a collaborative process between the two of you. There is also going to be likely some evaluations. I have a professionalism informational interview assignment where they reach out to you and they have a conversation about how professionalism has played into your career and why it's so important in your field, and kind of help shape their professionalism and then give them an evaluation. So it might be a few more things than just verifying hours for us.
And the other thought process, it's a good point that you brought about classes. They can have an internship course, right? All of our service learning is always embedded into an existing course. So a student will never sign up for a service learning course. It will be a course that has a service learning attribute and a component that I worked with the faculty to develop. Question? Yes.
Could an intern oversee 2 or 3 service learners?
Good question. A student can never verify hours because there's problems with that. Obviously, any student that has an @eagle.fgcu.edu email can never verify student hours. Do you have feelings about that?
Yeah, so this is getting into some exceptions that you on our side of things. So it is very rare that an FGCU student, I'm talking about interns, it is very rare that an FGCU student would be approving another FGCU student hours on the internship side of things. The only exceptions for that being if we have a student who has a full-time job somewhere that is their role. They're already a professional. They're also taking classes on the side, and their organization gets them an intern. That would be the only time that I would ever have any FGCU student approving FGCU student hours.
Yeah, it gets complicated for us because what happens is, let's use the fraternity as an example. In the fraternity brother who's in charge of service, they're like, oh yeah, all these guys came.
That a student's going to have a level of maturity and professionalism, that type of thing. One sample for how we've been hoping to address this is I actually just wrote a textbook for internship courses. Yeah, and it includes. Yeah, thank you. It comes out this week actually at the Monk Publishing. But it's because, thank you. It was because that is a little bit of an issue, right? So when we have internship courses, and I know I don't want to go too far over our time here. When we have internship courses, we will have students all over the country, all over the world, all taking this course together, right? So I just talked to a student in Minnesota yesterday. I talked to one in Maine the day before that, and they are interning back home, that kind of stuff. So we actually don't have lecture like a normal class would. And so, there are many things that I would teach them in a weekly lecture, right? We would have a whole week, if not 2 or 3 whole weeks on things like professionalism. And so in trying to figure out how do we solve that problem and help them learn those things, I did write a textbook. There is a whole chapter on professionalism. There is a whole chapter on how to stand out and go above and beyond. There is a whole chapter on mental health and well-being while you're interning, things like foundational skills, time management, organization. You can be the best, most skilled intern in the world, but if you do not show up, that doesn't work for everybody, right? So it does address some of those things, and I did just create a whole suite of reading discussions so that they're talking to each other in the class about these things too, even though we're not getting that face-to-face lecture time. But that book was written purely because there are so many other things our students need to know that we cannot teach them when they're all over the world. So that's
I'm very excited to be able to answer your question. But it's like you planted Dr. Cruz here for that very reason. And I will say, remember on our little worksheet that we had professionalism as one of them, right? And so if we can build in as many opportunities in service learning prior to students showing up for an internship, giving them the real world practice to develop those skills, hone those skills with them. And so when they are ready to go onto an internship and the career, they're ready. Okay, last question. Yes.
Actually, where can we find that book of what grade is it?
Yeah, I love that. Put a slide in here for that.
I'm glad you asked that question. So when I wrote it, I actually wrote it in a way that it's not just a textbook attached to an internship course, but it is something that students could purchase for themselves, parents could buy for their students, and employers could buy for their interns if they wanted to. So there will be a product page on Kendall Hunt Publishing's website is the first place that it's going to come out. And I will say I wrote it not in my FGCU capacity, so it is an outside endeavor. So do not feel like you have to use mine because you're getting FGCU interns, but it is an option. So it is supposed to be ready in ebook format, hopefully by the end of this week.
What's the name of it?
It's called the Internship Playbook: How to Stand Out, Gain Experience, and Get Ahead with Work-Based Learning.
Cool. Well, thank you, Ashley, for coming. Thank you for listening to us chat about that.
Can anybody want to back to that slide with the QR code?
Yes. Hold on. There we are.
Okay, before I leave, I just want to say, if you have a million more questions or just want to know more about internships, this is the internship handbook for employers that is on the internship, my office's website. There's a lot of information in here. Critical components of internships, things about how to onboard and train, how to recruit, supervisory duties, that kind of stuff. So it's comprehensive. It's about 20 something pages, but it's available to you online for free whenever you need it.
Yay. All right. So now that we have our brain kind of in that zone, right, of understanding the differences, we're going to now put all the things that we've been chatting about in action. We're going to review, again, going back and looking at our resources that are online. You can absolutely follow along. You can go to the FGCU website if you like. You can type into the little spyglass at the top the word service learning, and that will bring you there. Or you can type in this long thing here. But this will allow you to look at the resources and the things that we're going to show you. The first thing we're going to show you is the database, right, Justin? Is that what you're going to show them, the database? Go ahead. I know it gets a little slow.
Yeah. So we showed you the opportunities page before we dove into internships. I just wanted to make sure that you have a clear understanding that there are two separate pages, even within service learning. So there's a separate world for internships and then our world for service learning. Within our world, there's one page for opportunities and then a other database for pages for community partners like yourself. So you all have, or hopefully will have, an agency page here this is what we call the community partner database. The other one, that electronic bulletin board, the EagleLink page, is where the opportunities go. This is more of an overview and information about your organization as a whole. This really shouldn't be something that you update every time you have a new opportunity. So you're not going to come in here and go, oh, this week we need tutors. Next week we need someone with our event. That is not for this page. This is kind of a standing. The only time you're really going to have updates to this page is when staff change and your points of contact change, or you change office addresses, anything like that. So if I go into ACT or abuse counseling and treatment, you can kind of see what the page looks like. We do have FGCU offices in here as well, so it'll always ask if you're an FGCU entity. But it's just general information for the students when they're looking for partners to learn very quickly what your organization is about and if it might be somewhere that they want to work with. They often will start here in classes. They will start here. They will find organizations that they're interested in, and then they will go over to the EagleLink page and look for opportunities here. Mm-hmm. So the two are unfortunately not electronically connected. We're working on that. We're trying. Mm-hmm. We're working with IT on that. But currently they're not connected, but students are making the connection themselves. So this is where at the bottom of every page you'll see a primary contact and then a secondary contact. It's always a great idea to make sure those are current especially right now, because these first couple of weeks of the semester, they're going to be using this database like crazy. And so you want to make sure that address, the email addresses, the phone numbers, everything is what you want students reaching out to. The worst thing is when a student's really excited to work with you, and then they are calling a number that doesn't exist anymore, emailing someone who doesn't work there anymore. That's their first impression of your organization. So you really want to make sure that is current, and the person, and they also, like anyone in the world, they don't want to get tossed to 5 different people.
Right.
So make sure it's the person who they should be contacting. You don't want to make it your front office, person that's greeting people when they walk in your door, if that's not the person they should talk to about coming and volunteering or connecting their hours to their classes or anything like that. If that's not their person, I would not suggest having that be here.
Can I say something about the request to update information, not for student use? Because I am the person that gets these. And so this, once you click on this, this will bring up a form stack. You can type into that exactly what you would like for it to say, right? So you will say your name, and then later you'll say the agency that you're reporting, right? And then you can say here, please change the primary contact to blah, 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 blah. Or I'd like to update the information. What we do on our end is we literally copy and paste this. So if you spell something wrong, I'm going to spell something wrong, okay? And you don't have to say in this message, I'd like to update my information, because I know you do, because you click the button, okay? So once you get here, you just write exactly as you wish that what you would like to say. Also know that the primary and secondary contacts should know you are putting them, okay? And then they are readily and available to take messages from students who are looking for people. Again, I will say that that primary and secondary contact is going to receive a plethora of messages at the beginning of the semester. And as long as you prepare those people, and if it's you, be prepared for that. Did you have a question?
Yes.
How do you get there?
I tried Eagle Link.
Oh, yes. We're not in Eagle Link, so we're just going to type in. Oh, you're in the directory, my friend. I'll help you.
It's a good question, though, to make sure everyone knows how to get there. If you go to fgcu.edu/service learning, that's going to take you right to our website, which is this page you're seeing up here. So fgcu.edu/service learning. That's the short URL. You can see there's a longer one on the screen, but the short one works. So fgcu.edu/service learning. You'll see this page, and it does look a little different on your phone, but you'll see these 4 buttons, and when you click Find a Community Partner, it takes you to this page, if the internet works. I always think about that comedian who's like, give it a minute, it's going to space and back. Although this is taking really long, so. It goes to this page, and then you'll click on Search for a Community Partner, and that's where you get to the database. One of the things I love about the database is that students will use this advanced search feature because they may be commuting from Charlotte, and they may be coming only here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they live in Charlotte. So they would come in here and they would click on Charlotte, and then they also have the option of clicking on specific categories, like maybe they want to work with animals while they're up in Charlotte. And then we talk a lot in service learning classes about the Sustainable Development Goals through the United Nations. So in class, they may also be being asked to connect their work to one of these. So they may click on that, but you can see just by clicking Charlotte and animals, it takes the entire list from 594 down to 16.
Yeah. Can I say something about the SDGs? I'd love for you to really think through the Sustainable Development Goals that you really are touching. Because I think some people use this like they're going to select all because they think they're going to get more hits, but it only confuses students, right? So please, maybe just pick your top 3 that you are choosing, because this is how we funnel students. So if you say that you are doing life below water, and you are, I don't know, doing veteran services, it's confusing to them because now they think that you're taking veterans on, snorkeling adventures. So keep that in mind when you're looking to put that together. Be very mindful about what you're choosing because they use this as a filter to find you. Okay.
Are there any questions about the two separate databases, the EagleLink page for opportunities, this page for freestanding explanation of your organization?
All right.
Great, that's a good sign. In the EagleLink page, I mentioned before very briefly that there's words that students know and that we teach them to look for, like ongoing or virtual. So virtual is very popular, even if students have transportation, because they might be working 2 jobs, and maybe 3 a.m. is when they can work on a graphic design flyer for you or something. Maybe you're asking them to make a new logo for you or something like that. They can do that at 3 a.m. when they work 2 jobs, and that they can do virtually without ever coming to your office. So the word virtual gets searched a lot. Other words that get searched are on campus, because if students don't have transportation, they might also look for on campus other than virtual. But another one is guided, I'm typing one-handed here, guided trips. So our office strives to provide guided service learning trips 2 to 3 times a week during the semesters, during fall and spring semesters. And Katie coordinates all of that. We pay a student leader to drive a van, and we advertise it ahead of time. So we get it arranged with you, and then we advertise it ahead of time. And up to 14 students. We have a 15-passenger van now. It's new as of last year. And it's not creepy in any way. We say, come jump in our van. And then we take them out to do service. So we do literally tell them, hey, if you don't have transportation or you don't want to use your own gas, jump in this van and we will take you out to do something really cool. One of the reasons that started is because a lot of students, especially first and second year students, would say to us, we want to go do something, but I don't know the area and I don't feel comfortable going somewhere I don't know at all, to an organization I don't know at all, and doing a task I don't know at all. So I would prefer to go do that with friends, but I don't have friends yet. I haven't met people I feel that close with to get in their car. So it kind of started out of that, but we're actually finding that a lot of students just want to go do things together, whether they're first year students or not, and that a lot of students don't want to use their own gas, which I don't blame them. Gas is expensive. So this is a way to kind of alleviate some of that. So we strive to have 2 to 3 of those a week. And if you want to be one of those sites that we take up to 14 students to come serve, we are happy to put you on the list. You can let Jamie know. She'll probably get you in touch with Katie to get you on that schedule. Yeah. Any questions about our guided trips?
And I will say, you have to have something that you can keep them busy with for about 4 hours. So we need to make it kind of worth their while that they're going to come. We're going to transport them. We go all over the area. So we need to also have some lead time with this. For EagleLink, if you have a need, within the week, we can get that put up there for you. In order for us to do a really good job promoting guided trips, we need at least 2 weeks, if not more. So this is when you look at your calendar, you look at your big needs that you have, and think about, could you use a large number of students at one time, and can I keep them busy for that long period? We also ask if you keep them over a meal period that you kindly feed them, like a pizza, because hungry college students, that's all we'll have to say about that. Yes. The virtual, yes, type in virtual. And this is also something, while he's pulling this up, this is also something great that you can go on to see what other people are asking students to help them with. So if you're having a hard time saying, I don't know really where to start, this may also give you some ideas. Go ahead. Yep.
Did you have a specific question about the virtual, or you just want to see? Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll see the Healthy Earth. All of those are, she has a student who helps her do this, and she submits a form for every single opportunity.
Which is really smart, because
Yes.
if you're an FGCU student scrolling through on your phone, what you typically click on what you see the most of.
Yes, question.
If we wanted to do a guided trip that needed more than 14 students and then also put it on EagleLink, could you give me an idea of how you would word that guided trip or?
Yes. You want to do that, Justin?
Yeah. So I would want to know more. I'd want to know more about why is it something we can maybe break into 2 guided trips so that we do 14 this week and 14 next week, or even 2 visits in 1 week? Because we have 1 van, so we would want to talk about that. Or could we work it into one of our days of service? So here in just a minute, I'll show you a list of dates for the term that you kind of want to keep in the back of your mind. It might be a good day of service. For the days of service, we send about 500 students out across the region, and we use larger buses for that. So that might be an opportunity for something like that. Yeah.
Oh.
And sometimes what we can do, I think one of the things about the work that we do is we can tailor it, we can adjust things. So we might talk about bringing 14 students who can't drive themselves, and then also finding 10 additional students who can drive themselves. We only just got the van last year, but we did guided trips for really the last 3 years, and our guided trips before that were self-drive. You had to either find a roommate, find a friend, but we still paid our person, our student assistant, to go and be there to facilitate, make sure everybody felt comfortable, all of that. So sometimes we can still do a hybrid of what we used to do and what we do now. Yeah.
One on topic and one off topic. So let me start with the on topic one. Can you please turn the air conditioner off?
We sadly don't control it.
I was over there while Ashley was up here talking, and it is currently set to 76 degrees, and it does not feel, it does not feel.
I love it.
Do you feel the icicles that are on my hand? I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yes. Yes.
What, if any, policy you have on anyone who's working with the students in a service learning opportunity, transporting those students themselves? So, for example, if it's only going to be 1 or 2 students and it doesn't justify using a van or something like that, or it doesn't meet the timeline for notification or the 4-hour that would make it justifiable, is there any policy you have? Obviously, the student would need to agree with it for us to do the transportation for them if that were a hindrance in their participation.
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, just for everyone's sake, the question is, can the organization transport FGCU students from campus to your site to do service and then back? Absolutely. We've had organizations do that. We suggest that you have them sign a waiver of your own. We do not need them in those cases to sign a waiver for us, because we are not requiring them to do that exact experience. That's really the linchpin for us. So we need a waiver when we are saying, like, if you're in a class, say you're an FGCU student, you take a class and the faculty member says, we are all going to do a beach cleanup together, and this is part of the class and it's part of your grade. FGCU needs that student to sign a waiver because it's a requirement for that class. In this case, the student can opt for your opportunity or any other opportunity, so they would not need to sign our waiver. It's important to note, anytime you're working with FGCU, FGCU has students sign waivers in those cases for us, to protect us as FGCU. Our waiver does not protect you. So you really want to make sure that anytime a student is coming to serve with you, that you have them sign a waiver if that's something your organization needs. Every organization is very different when it comes to that. So really, make sure if you're not privy to that information for your organization, that you are talking with your leadership about it.
So in our website, once you find the website and you do all of that, at the bottom, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see that there are 3 buttons here. Your area, all the things that we've talked about today, live on this side, community partner resources. So if you click onto this area, anything that I send you, if you're like, hey, send me that form, it could all be found here. So every step that you take from getting started in the database to submitting opportunities that live on EcoLink, once you click on that, it will go to these locations. We always tell our agencies to just bookmark it.
And then that way you have it there. And then on our end, we receive I guess I was practicing with this. And so you go through here and then you'll fill out the information. There is a next button. So if you don't feel like we're asking all of the questions that you need, it's just because you have to hit the next button and you'll find it there. Then you'll submit it and then it will come to us. But anything that you need as far as submitting requests, how you verify their hours, all those types of things, the different events that we have going on, this is a great place to start if you are confused or don't know where to begin. Questions? So far, so good? Okay, great.
They're all frozen. They can't.
I know.
even-
I love it, my friends. More the better.
I literally was in the back going, it's really hot outside. It's really hot outside. It's really hot outside. Okay, so we are almost at the end. There's only a couple other things we want you to know about. Let me jump to the right slide here. This one. And by almost at the end, I mean we're almost to what we are told is often people's favorite part, which is the mix and mingle and light lunch. And so during that time, you're going to get to walk around, talk to everyone. We'll do quick introductions before that. But before we get there, I said there's some dates that you want to keep in mind and in your calendar, not just for this fall, but for every fall. Everything you see up here, every academic year, I should say, everything you see up here is something we do annually. So if you are, as an organization, you're thinking already about fall 26 or summer 26 or anything like that, you can plan according to some of these opportunities for your organization to get the best bang for your buck as well. So we have a day of service where we send, like I said, about 500 students out every August. It is specifically to help students get their feet wet in Southwest Florida. And by that, I mean, get a taste of what it's like to go and serve at your organization. So sometimes it's a Saturday morning, it's about 5 hours of service that the students will do. We provide buses, we provide the food, we provide shirts, we do all the things. But sometimes organizations will say, well, we don't operate on a Saturday morning, we can't do it. We'll have schools, elementary schools, who say, we have all these needs, we would love for people to come, no one's here on a Saturday morning. What we tell them is students, FGCU students, tend to return throughout the semester to where they went during the day of service. So I encourage organizations to do everything possible, even if that means allowing your staff to like shift hours that week, everything possible to take volunteers during that event because they get their feet wet, they get a taste of your organization, they see where it is, they see how far it is from campus, they see how fun it is, they get to meet you so that they are far more likely, because what happens is then we have all these students, thousands of students that during their class, during the fall semester are told, you have to go find a partner to work with. They go, hey, where did you go for your day of service? Yep, that's where we're going. So if you're not an option during day of service, you're kind of closing some doors there. So we really encourage you, if at all possible, to be a site during WOW day of service or several bullet points down. You'll see the third bullet point down, make a difference day. So we do these days of service 2 big times in the fall, specifically in the fall to help them get their feet wet and get connected to the region quickly. So it's this year it's August 23rd, which is a Saturday morning. And then again, Make a Difference Day is a Saturday morning, October 25th. So those are 2 big days that you want to keep in mind. The Make a Difference Day event this year, we expect to send out about 1,000 students, all on buses and vans. So 500 for WOW Day of Service, about 1,000 for Make a Difference Day. And then we have our service learning fairs. I don't know why September 2nd is crossed off.
Stuff because we don't have any more tables left.
Right, but the wait list is open.
The wait list is open, but we are at max capacity for tables for you to reserve a table. It filled up very, very fast for you all, so we are very excited. If you are not on that list, you can let myself or Shannon know. Send us a message, and I forward it to Shannon. Shannon's keeping a wait list, so if someone says, oh, by the way, I can't come to the service learning fair, we pull that person off, and we move the wait list up. But new this year, I put together, how many of you are coming to the service learning fair? Yay, awesome. Okay, so new this year, I put together a tips and tricks video. and a handout, because who doesn't love a handout? And this is living under community partner resources right where you register for the fair. There's a link to this. So if you've never come to the fair and you don't know what to expect or how to prepare for success, I give you all the tips and tricks.
I highly suggest watching the video.
Watch the video.
Highly suggest.
And so just giving you what to expect. I think it's like a 10-minute video. It's very, very fast. But this also lives on the community partner resource page. And when you access this, because you can access this using your agenda and all the things, you can click on this and it will take you right there as well. So you have all the things that you need to be prepared for that event.
And you can plan also for the January date, which is January 22nd. As you just heard, these dates do fill very quickly. So as soon as it opens, as soon as registration opens for that, we tend to send out, it's not open yet, right? It's not open yet. We will send out an email to all of the primary and secondary contacts in the database. If you are not the primary or secondary contact, again, you had your assistant be the primary contact, your assistant is going to get notified. Whoever is the primary and secondary contact in the database is going to be the ones to get notified when these dates open, and they fill fast. The fourth bullet point down, community partner workshops. If you love this morning and you have other team members that you think should come and hear all of this information and experience this, October 30th is our next one, and then March 12th of the spring. So those are our next dates there. Feel free to put those in your calendar. And then we have a showcase event at the end of every term. The showcase event at the end of fall term is SURI, Student Undergraduate Research Initiative? Symposium on Undergraduate Research something. Why am I looking? Again, I remember the I. It's not our event. We just have students showcase community engagement projects at this event. So I'm blanking on what the I is. I cannot remember the I. And then our community engagement day in April is the April event. So we'll send out information again to our primary and secondary contacts about that opportunity. Why you should know about that is if you have a group of students doing amazing projects with you throughout the semester, tell them, hey, you should showcase this project at your end of term event. We email them, we email you all, but always a good idea for you to plant that seed with them as well. And then there are ebbs and flows of every semester, but they are pretty clockwork. So it's important for you to kind of feel out that ebb and flow. We mentioned December tends to be kind of a dead period, except for students who've stayed locally. So we still do guided trips over that time. We still do guided trips all summer long. We actually have a lot of students who take classes over the summer. I don't think everyone always knows that. So summer is pretty active. But September, the end of August into September, so starting next week into the first half of September is crazy. It's crazy with events. It's crazy with all the students are trying to get a grasp of what the semester feels like for them with their class schedules. Day one, they all get a syllabus that's like 15 pages long with tons of assignments and tons of projects, and it's very overwhelming to them. So they're a little overwhelmed, but they're also told they have to go and find a partner. So they're often calling like 5 or 6 of you or emailing 5 or 6 of you all at the same time, like, I need a partner for this class, and here's the project I need. And sometimes you don't hear from them again. You'll be like, yeah, that sounds great, let's talk. And then you don't hear from them again. And then later, like a year later, you and I will be having a conversation and be like, I keep getting outreaches from students and then they just ghost me. We do work with them through the faculty, through a number of means to say, hey, if you're not going to work with that partner, you should close the loop. You should email them again and be like, thank you so much, I found another partner, or it was faster to go here, whatever the case was. But that does not always happen. So I want you to know that context because they're often in a very overwhelmed state at the beginning of the semester, and they've just been told, go find a partner, which also that in and of itself, separate from all their other classes, can feel a little overwhelming. So a couple of things. One, be responsive if you can, like, a timely response, because they're often told by next week, secure a partner, and we're going to be starting to dive into a project in this class. So there's a little bit of panic on their side. And then also, don't be too offended if you don't hear from them again. You can probably make the assumption that they've found a different partner to work with, but we do, just know, we do try to teach them professional communication and to close that loop. It just doesn't always happen. So as we talk about the ebbs and flows, it's a really crazy time up until middle of September. And then usually we have a hurricane. So it just like really throws us. But supposing there's no hurricanes, it does calm down a little bit as they kind of get in the flow of their classes and their projects. And that is where they'll do the meat of the work with you if it's a class project. And then by November, really by November 1st-ish, they are shutting down everything that doesn't have to do with getting a good grade in their class, because they're starting to realize like, oh, I got to really get it together. Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and then finals and graduation or end of term. End of term is December, the very first weekend in December. So I think it's like December 2nd. Everything's done and turned in. No, I'm wrong. It's the second week after. Everything's done and turned in. And so there's that wind up really starting about 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving, where they just focus on classes again. They're also going through all the things of like, I hate my roommate, or I'm not sure who I am anymore, or what is the meaning of life? And like, it's a little overwhelming sometimes. So just like we tell them to give you all grace, students will come to us and be like, they haven't responded to me. I've sent them 5 emails. They haven't responded to me. And we'll be like, when did you send those emails? Last night at midnight? We'll be like, okay, well, give them a minute. They probably haven't even checked their email yet today. And so just like we tell them that, we also try to tell our partners, all of you, give them a little grace. They're going through all the things of college, traditional college students are. And so, and some of our students have kids and have jobs and are, the whole thing. So just, we're kind of, not to get too existential, but we're all humans. We're all going through it. So, but all of that said, let Jamie and I know as much of your experience as you possibly can, so that we can learn from it, improve it, and help you through it. So if you are struggling with a class project, like maybe they started with you really well, things were looking good, and then all of a sudden they stopped talking with you, let us know that. We've also had on the flip side where groups of students come, they're half their grade in the class is dependent on the project, and they're like, hey, we worked the first 5 weeks with this partner, we were doing great work, and then the person left the organization, and we have not been able to get in touch with anyone else at that organization. So we see it on both sides, and we want to be part of that process so that we can help the students if that's happening, or help you all if that's happening. And usually there's a reason on the student side too, like, something happened to grandma, or something happened to parents back home, and suddenly the leader of the group is now like gone. It's any number of things. Like I said, we've got 16,000 students, so as you can imagine, there are deaths, there are births, there are new diagnoses, there are everything under the sun. So we'll try to navigate that with you as much as possible. Any questions about the ebb and flow of a semester? All right. Before I do that, I want to talk about this slide. Sometimes you all as partners, our amazing partners, really need volunteers. You need someone like really quickly or in a really desperate way. And you'll be like, I need somebody, like, we've had organizations say, we had all of our volunteers confirmed for our Saturday gala. It'll be like Monday morning. They'll be like, we had all of our volunteers coming from the Kiwanis Club or a fraternity or something. For Saturday, we have a big gala, and we had all our volunteers confirmed, but they all just canceled. Something happened, they all just canceled. We need people really badly. And so you'll be incentivized. Like you'll want to provide an incentive of some kind. Here's what you need to know. You can provide food. You can absolutely provide food. We encourage you, as Jamie said, if it's over a mealtime, please provide food. You cannot provide money. You cannot pay students for service learning. Gift cards are sometimes okay and sometimes not. Here's where it varies. If the gift card is a Visa gift card for $50, no. But If it's a gas card to racetrack gas station or something like that, because your organization is on Sanibel and it's going to take them an hour and 5 minutes to drive there and they're going to use all that gas, you absolutely can provide gas cards or something for a very specific need. What I always tell partners, based on previous experience, is provide that after the experience is done. We have had cases where they get the gas card ahead of time and the student disappears. So I don't want that to happen to you. You cannot provide additional hours. You can't say, come serve with us for 2 hours because we really need someone to set up tables and chairs this Saturday. And you serve for 2 hours, I'm going to give you 8 hours. Because it's a graduation requirement, every minute is a minute. Every hour is an hour. If they serve with you for 30 minutes, it's going to be 0.5 hours that they record. So keep that in mind. Puppies. We get this from our animal-loving students. They want to foster animals, and when they foster animals, they think they are serving around the clock for weeks. The maximum that our policy currently allows for is 10 hours of service for fostering. There's some ins and outs. There's some nuances of that situation, but the blanket policy is 10 hours for fostering. And then double dipping, we talked about that with internships. You can't do 10 hours of an internship and also count it for service learning. So those are some of the common questions we get, but then I'll back up to that slide of other questions that you may have. Here.
Can you address the drive time?
Oh, yes, sorry. Drive time. So students cannot count drive time for service learning hours. So we tell students, think of it like if you worked at a restaurant. That restaurant is not paying you to get to the restaurant and then to drive home. They're paying you once you get there and clock in. So we tell them to do that. And we always say, if we did count drive time, students would go and do service in Georgia all the time. So we don't count drive time. Anything you wanted to say about that?
No, you covered it.
Oh, okay.
Under common questions, I think one of the main things that we get that I wanted to include is like, what now, right? This goes back to Dr. Cruz's question. One of the best things you can do for us is to approve the hours when you get that email. You get a multitude of emails, and I know that it can be confusing. It's coming from a company called Simplicity. It won't have my name attached to it, right? But the way that this works is that you get an initial email that says that you and the student have entered this partnership. No action is needed from you at this time, right? So it's kind of like the student.
It actually says that.
Yeah, it says no action, right? And so I always say it's like they're telling you they're what they're about to do, right? So we're going to set that up.
Can I also say?
Sure.
What Jamie's describing is the ideal situation.
Ideal.
It's what we want students to do. They would fill out this form, and you would get this email at the beginning of you working with them.
We know that doesn't always happen, but we're going to pretend that it does. So that's the first thing that happens. Then they serve with you, right? They are keeping track of their hours, however you and that student has agreed upon. If you want them to check in at your front desk, because that is your thing, that's fine. But that doesn't, I know it blows the students' minds. Your portal doesn't connect to our portal. And so they then can keep track of their hours however they'd like, pen and paper on their phone with your system, whatever it is, at the end of their experience. So that experience could be one day. That experience could be an entire semester. It could be a month. It could be 2 weeks. At the end of their experience, they go back into Eagle Service Network. They put in their total amount of hours. They write what they did. You get that email. And now you say, yes, this is the right amount of hours, or no. A lot of times when we write, if it says no, you have to provide a reason why. Sometimes the person will say, they did double this. I don't think that they've done this correctly. If you never get that email, and the student's like, why haven't you got that email? Why haven't you got that email? Tell them kindly to come to our office. Because it could be two things. Number one, they did not put your email in correctly, and it's getting stuck in the Ethernet, right? It's somewhere in the cloud. Or number two, they've only done part one.
They've only set up their record, and they never went in and put the hours, so it hasn't created the next step. Then you approve the hours, all of that. So yes, go ahead.
I just want to say one quick.
Does your wife not have her baby yet? I'm so stressed about this.
No baby.
I don't know, why are you still here?
She sent me a picture. She's out walking the neighborhood.
Oh gosh.
Trying to get it out.
All right, go ahead.
The unspoken thing here is that you need a tracking system for hours yourself. Some of our larger organizations in the room, you probably have a portal that they clock in, clock out, that sort of thing. Some of our smaller organizations may not. And so we have had partners before get that email for the first time, new partners, and they'll be like, I don't know how many hours this student did. You need some sort of tracking system where you and that student during the semester are making sure you are on the same page. Some best practices are a shared document where they're clocking in, clocking out. They're putting what time they started working with you, what time they ended, and what they did. So something like that, if you don't have your own kind of check-in, check-out system. The other thing I'll say about this is virtual. I get a lot of questions sometimes about, they're virtually working for me. How do I know if they really did that number of hours? Well, this is a great learning experience for our students, and maybe even for you, about the future of work. My wife works full-time from home. Her company does not know truly the number of hours that she is doing. But she can respond. She works in higher education remotely. It's a whole thing. I'll tell you all about it later. But she can literally be responding to students. We'll be watching, America's Got Talent or something, and she'll pick up her phone and she'll be working. She'll be responding to students' questions and the things that they're having problems with, and she counts that as time. In the same way, our students need to learn, because that is the future. Many of our students' first jobs are remote, from home, virtual. And the more that we can help them learn these steps now, the better they'll be then. And so you may want to set up a process with them of what that looks like. Maybe it is a shared document where they're putting what they worked on at 3 o'clock in the morning. From 3 o'clock to 3:45, they worked on this. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be a system that works well for you and that student or that group of students. But what I'll always say is there should be a product. And I say product, but there should be something that they can show you that they did. So if it's a graphic design project that they're working on, they should be able to show you the flyers, the logos, the designs, whatever it is, and send that to you. If it's that they're doing social media posts for you, you should see some social media posts and some things that then they did because of that time. So, figure out what works best for you and your organization, especially if it's virtual. And we can always share with you great best practices. We can show you templates and things like that.
And keep in mind also that ideally they're contacting you at the end of that semester, the end of the project. It could happen that this student is going to graduate and they're asking you to verify something they did with you 4 years ago. So, however you'd like to keep track of that, please ask us.
That is a very real possibility, but one of the ways around that is to give them a deadline. When they are done working with you, and in the ideal situation, they're wrapping that up. They're sending you, having final communication of like, thanks so much for this opportunity to work with you. Here's the graphic design stuff I did for you. Have a great life, that kind of thing. It's really important that whether it's virtual or in person, maybe they're coming and serving food with you and that's all they're doing and then they're leaving. Whatever the case, when you see them or that final moment that you're like, I might not see this student ever again, tell them you need to track your hours in Eagle Service Network. If you want, I always tell partners, tell them, if you want me to approve this and to verify your hours, you need to track these hours before X date. So some partners, it's a month. Some partners, it's 6 months. Some partners, you can set your own date. And our like really best community partners that students work with, they have a little half sheet. So when a student comes and serves with them in person, as they're walking out the door, they go, thanks so much. On that half sheet is a couple things. One, who to list as the supervisor when they're asking for their hours to be verified, because that's who's going to get those emails that Jamie's talking about. The date that they have to track hours by, or else you're not dealing with it, and future opportunities. So when the student gets back home, they go to track their hours, they can pull out that slip of paper. Or some partners just tell students, take a picture of this half sheet of paper, so they can pull that back up when they go to track their hours. And next semester, when they're in a class and the professor says, you need a partner to work with, they can look back at that picture that they took of your future opportunities and go, oh, let's just do that project. I already know this partner. I love this partner. We're going right back there.
And if you need a template for such a thing, conveniently on our website, there's a letter template. And under community partner resources, that website that I showed you before, under verification of service learning hours, we're asking that you may want to reach out to them afterwards. You can download the letter template. Thank you, Shannon, for helping me with the Adobe. And we have this handy dandy template that thanks them, reminds them to track their hours, tells them—
That's where you can put a date
Yep.
if you want.
Tells them who to list, gives them the access to the tracking the hours, but then it also gives you an ability and a chance to connect with them and tell them, list this in your resume, list this in LinkedIn. Please make sure that you reach out to us if you need additional opportunity. So if you'd like to take that, make that your own, that's there for you. I'm going to head on over to a very fun part that I'd like to call Slido. Guys, get prepared for this. So you can, well, you're laughing. I was preparing for you not to be here.
I'm laughing because you admittedly are not good with technology.
I am not, and here we are.
And you have chosen to do.
This is going fine. Okay. So what you can do is you can scan this QR code. Look at me, I wrote test in there. You can scan this QR code or go to slido.com and enter 5573661. They wouldn't let me come up with my own number. I wanted to do it my own.
8675309.
And so you can type into here any burning question that you may still have that you would like us to answer, because the question or the idea is that if you have that question, someone else has it. You can still raise your hand the old-fashioned way as well. But if you are a little more timid in that regard, we'd be happy to answer your question here. Hopefully it works. Yes.
Is there a companion calendar for service learning? In other words, there's an academic calendar and then a service learning calendar with the dates and deadlines.
Is anyone putting things in? Because it's not coming up. Sir, there is a calendar of our dates under calendar. We have, oh, there it goes, thank you. It works.
We have a calendar of events on our website, and that has our events that are happening, like the Service Learning Fair, Days of Service, those types of things. But if you're thinking like one document that shows like when the semester starts and when to start recruiting students and those types of things, we have put together an online community partner training. It's in that, but we don't have anything that lives in that way, but
it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm trying to think, of a way that shows the ebb and flow. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we get a list of all contacts of organizations in attendance today? Yes, that's a great question, because we always forget to say, if you don't want your contact shared for some reason, let us know. But otherwise, we will send out a follow-up email after this. And don't forget, the database has everyone in it, so including those who weren't here. But yes, for today, we'll send that out. Is there a way to prevent random students from putting companies down as service learning? Every semester, I get 10+ emails from students that I have not worked with. If you are getting students from emails from students, you can ignore them, one, or better yet, you can forward that email that you're getting to us, and we'll follow up and find out what's going on. Sometimes it is what I was saying earlier. A student reaches out to 5 different organizations because they're panicked and thinking, I need an organization next week, and they think that is the first step. That's something we try to clarify in the classroom, but it doesn't always happen. So if that's happening to you, send it our way, and we'll get that.
And we don't know what's happening unless you tell us. And there's ways that we can delete that on our end as well to stop that. I can't read all these.
Wanted to give a shout out. This was great. Thank you so much. This was so organized.
Yes.
My mind is spinning.
It was a Slido. It did it. It did it. Yes.
Do all FGCU students seeking an internship need one-on-one supervision, or does it depend on the class? Seeking an internship, I'm gonna assume that's the correct usage of that you do mean internship.
I don't know.
They need someone listed as their supervisor. So it would be a singular person needs listed as their one-on-one supervisor. But it does often depend on their major, because some majors actually need you to touch different aspects of the company, or the organization.
Dr. Ellen and Dr. Buhane have a question. Is that from you all? Is there a group here that works with intellect disability or disorders that I can work with? Is that you're also, Dr. Buhane, did you put that question? Oh, no. Okay, Easter Seals. Oh, no. Okay, I'm so confused. But you work. So did you put the question in, Dr. Buhane?
I did. I saw Dr. Ellen here.
Oh, that's why you gave her the shout out? Yes.
We'll do introductions here in just a minute.
Yes.
You'll see. The answer is yes.
Yes.
Do I need to attend September event if you want to work with a class? No, you don't need to, but we do see about 750 students coming through that event who all are coming, well, a majority of them are coming from classes and looking for projects, so it's a great event for you to be at. I highly suggest you put yourself on the wait list. We had 20 people on the wait list last year, and all 20 of them got a table.
Yeah.
Because people cancel, things happen.
People get sick, all those things. And also, I see the question about if you want to work with a class, you have to attend this September event. If you have an idea for a large-scale class project and you want to do that, you contact me. And then we will have a conversation. I'll set up a time to chat with you.
Where can I get a copy of your presentation? On the back side of your agenda, there's 2 QR codes. One will take you to a copy of the slides, and the other takes you to the agenda, which is all clickable or linked. What's the best way to report a bad experience with a student completing service learning hours? Do we contact their professor? Yes, and us. We really need to know that. We want to know that. We want to look into what's going on so that it doesn't keep happening. Are all students background checked, or do we need to complete a background check yourselves? No. You do need to complete that yourselves. The organizations that pay for it are a bit more popular. If you are asking the student to pay for the background check themselves, they're not as likely. Or you will need to probably think of some other incentives that would drive them in that direction. What's the time frame to post an upcoming event on the service site to attract students if in the event is 2 weeks? How can we get student assistance? Yes, the sooner the better. Yeah. The more time that you leave posting it and for us to advertise it, the better. If it's in 2 weeks, start right now. And then how can we get student assistance? Remember, everything that comes into EagleLink, that form you fill out, it's getting posted on there, but we are also looking at it to potentially send to professors for their classes, and Katie is looking to send all of those to specific student organizations. So United Way is always looking for people to help with VITA, their tax assistance program.
The beginning stages of hypothermia. Oh. Sorry.
How's that going?
Sorry.
And so, so that will always come in, and anybody can sign up for that, but we're also going to send that off.
But listen, the sooner the better. If that's anything that we can stretch to you, I will say faculty for fall, if you want a class partnership for fall, that ship has really sailed. Because faculty already know who they're working with already for fall. If you want to start thinking about spring partnerships, then this is the time to start thinking about that, and I start soliciting those out to people in a variety of ways. But at this point, faculty really have communicated their syllabi. They are working on those types of details, and then they will make sure that they have that partnership in place before students show up on the first day. The exception to that is when students are broken up into groups, and then they have to go out and find their own partners. There is more wiggle room with that.